What if I told you there are creatures that can stop their heartbeat, freeze their bodies, and sleep for months without dying? Welcome to the strange, dreamy world of hibernation, where time slows down, nature hits pause, and life takes the longest nap imaginable. Stay till the end, because what you're about to hear might just put you to sleep instantly, in the most fascinating way possible. Have you ever stood outside on a cold winter night, when the world feels frozen in silence? The trees hold their breath, the air is still, not a sound of rustling leaves or buzzing insects, just a calm so deep it feels as if the planet itself is asleep. But somewhere beneath your feet, under layers of snow and soil, life continues, not awake, not dead, but in a strange, secret state between both. This is the mysterious art of hibernation. Hibernation is one of nature's greatest illusions. It's not just sleep. It's an ancient biological symphony orchestrated to slow down life itself. A process so precise and powerful that it can silence a heartbeat, freeze the blood, and yet preserve the miracle of life, waiting patiently for spring's return. Picture this: deep in a mountain cave, a bear curls into a quiet ball. Her breathing slows, her heart rate drops from 50 beats per minute to barely 8. Her body temperature falls by several degrees. The energy that once powered her mighty muscles now withdraws, like tides pulling away from shore. Outside, the forest is blanketed in snow, food has vanished, and the air stings with frost. Yet, she rests, safe within herself, living off the reserve stored in her body, sustained by an invisible rhythm that nature wrote millions of years ago. This is no ordinary rest. This is survival in slow motion. As winter deepens, the bear's body becomes a marvel of efficiency. She doesn't eat, she doesn't drink, she doesn't even urinate or defecate for months. Inside her body, waste is recycled, proteins are broken down and reassembled into energy. Her muscles don't atrophy, her bones don't weaken. Scientists have studied this for decades, astonished that a creature can remain motionless for half a year and emerge just as strong as before. It's as if the bear has found the pause button on life itself. But the bear isn't alone in this ancient craft. Across the northern hemisphere, squirrels, hedgehogs, frogs, and even snakes prepare for their long disappearance. Each has its own ritual, passed down through generations of instinct, an unspoken agreement between life and winter. Take the European hedgehog. As autumn fades, its tiny heart beats over 200 times per minute. But once hibernation begins, that number plunges to under 20. The difference between life and death becomes razor thin, yet the body knows exactly how far it can go without crossing the line. Its temperature drops close to the cold soil surrounding it. Oxygen consumption falls. Time itself becomes irrelevant. Imagine experiencing that, lying perfectly still while your body slows, conserving every molecule of energy. To us, it sounds like a fantasy. To them, it's the only way to survive the long, merciless winter. For centuries, humans misunderstood hibernation. We thought animals simply slept through the cold. But when scientists first peered deeper, measuring heartbeats, brain waves, and body chemistry, they discovered something astonishing. Hibernation isn't sleep at all. In fact, it's closer to suspended animation, like pressing pause on existence. During deep sleep, the brain stays active, dreaming, repairing, reorganizing. But in hibernation, the brain almost shuts down entirely. Waves of electrical activity flatten. The body enters a metabolic twilight zone, not awake, not asleep, but somewhere beyond. Some animals go even further. The Arctic ground squirrel, for example, doesn't just cool its body. It drops its temperature below freezing. Yes, below freezing. Its blood carries special proteins that prevent ice crystals from forming, allowing it to remain frozen solid without dying. Its heart stops beating for minutes at a time. Its breathing pauses. Yet, come spring, the squirrel stirs again, stretching as if waking from a long dream, none the worse for wear. How does life return after being suspended for months in the cold void? That's the mystery that has haunted biologists for decades. They found that hibernating creatures undergo microcycles, short bursts of warmth that ripple through their systems every few days, as if the body briefly checks in to make sure everything is still alive. The heartbeat quickens, the temperature rises slightly, And then, once confirmed, the body drifts back into its icy calm. It's like the soul tapping its own shoulder and whispering, "Still here." In the quiet chambers of laboratories, scientists have tried to replicate this miracle. They lower temperatures, reduce oxygen, and simulate hibernation-like conditions. The results are fascinating. Small mammals, even some primates, can be coaxed into a torpor-like state. It's as though deep inside all living beings lies a forgotten memory, a blueprint for hibernation, waiting to be unlocked. Perhaps, long ago, humans too had this ability. Some evidence suggests that ancient ancestors may have endured harsh winters by lowering their metabolism, sleeping for long periods in caves, their bodies conserving every scrap of energy to survive famine and cold. If true, it would mean that hibernation is not just an animal trick, but an ancestral human whisper buried deep in our DNA. The more we study, the more we realize that hibernation isn't just a reaction to cold, it's a philosophy of life itself. In nature, survival often depends not on speed or strength, but on stillness. To stop, to conserve, to endure. When the world turns hostile, these creatures don't fight it. They simply withdraw, trusting that time and patience will carry them through. A hibernating animal doesn't fear the silence of winter. It embraces it. Because somewhere, buried in that silence, is the promise of rebirth. Deep beneath the snow, in hidden burrows and icy dens, a symphony plays so quiet, so slow it's almost imperceptible. The soft thud of a slowed heart. The whisper of a breath drawn once every few minutes. The pulse of life reduced to a single steady note. It's a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary strength lies not in motion, but in the courage to be still. And as the months drift by, nature watches in patient reverence. Snow melts, rivers thaw. The sun climbs higher. Warmth seeps back into the earth, and deep underground something stirs. A heartbeat quickens, muscles twitch, eyes flutter open. The sleeper awakens. But the true story of hibernation, the deeper mystery of what happens inside these creatures, how they transform their very chemistry, how their organs adapt to survive near-death temperatures, and what that means for the future of humanity, is far from over. In a sterile laboratory thousands of miles from the icy wilderness, scientists gather around a digital screen. On it, the heartbeat of a hibernating animal appears as faint, rhythmic blips, far apart, almost ghost-like. Each pulse is a whisper of life suspended in time. For researchers, this is not just biology, it's a window into the edge of existence itself. When they measure the metabolism of a hibernating creature, they find something unbelievable. Oxygen use plummets to nearly 1% of normal. Blood flow to the brain drops dramatically. Cells enter a kind of metabolic meditation, minimizing activity to avoid damage. Every organ, from heart to liver, synchronizes to this slower rhythm. It's like an orchestra where each instrument stops playing, yet the music continues through silence. The question is how? The secret lies in chemistry, in how the body shifts its priorities. During hibernation, enzymes responsible for energy production change shape. Mitochondria, the powerhouses of cells, dim their engines, running on the faintest flicker of fuel. Waste doesn't accumulate. Cells recycle themselves efficiently, cleaning house while everything else rests. This adaptation is a marvel of biological economy. The animal burns fat, not muscle. Its blood becomes thick but doesn't clot. Nerves remain ready but subdued. Even the brain, normally ravenous for energy, learns to survive on scraps. It's as if every part of the body understands the assignment. Survive by slowing down. Imagine if humans could harness that ability. In a world obsessed with speed, what if our bodies could enter their own deep pause? Healing, resting, preserving. That dream may not be as far-fetched as it sounds. Scientists studying ground squirrels and bears have discovered proteins that could protect human organs during surgeries or space travel. These proteins stabilize cells, preventing damage from lack of oxygen. If we could trigger this hibernation switch, doctors might keep patients alive longer on operating tables. Astronauts could travel to Mars without aging significantly, and the sick could heal in deep, regenerative rest. But hibernation isn't just chemistry. It's choreography. The process begins long before the first snowfall. In autumn, the body prepares. Hormones surge and shift. The brain's hypothalamus, the control center for temperature and metabolism, sends a silent command: slow down. Fat stores build up, but not all fat is equal. Hibernators grow a special kind called brown fat, which can ignite warmth quickly when it's time to wake. It's like having a built-in heater for the body's frozen dawn. Then, as temperatures fall, the animal retreats, the heartbeat slows, breathing becomes shallow, the world fades away. But even in this state of stillness, the body is aware, not consciously but instinctively. Tiny sensors in the brain monitor conditions outside. If the cave grows too warm, if danger approaches, the body will awaken briefly, move, adjust, then slip back into its frozen trance. It's a cycle of vigilance in the midst of surrender, a perfect balance between life and death. In the deep dark of a squirrel's burrow, something astonishing happens. When its temperature drops below freezing, the water in its body doesn't form deadly ice shards as it would in ours. Instead, special proteins act like antifreeze, coating its cells in protection. Ice may form in the spaces between cells, but never inside. This delicate trick ensures survival. When spring light filters through the soil, the squirrel's heart resumes, one cautious beat at a time. Its body warms, its eyes open, and it carries on, as though winter was just a dream. Every species has mastered its own version of this ancient art. Bats cluster in caves, clinging upside down, their tiny bodies pulsing faintly in the dark. Frogs sink to the bottoms of ponds, freezing solid, waiting for warmth to melt them awake. Snakes coil into crevices where their cold blood slows like syrup. Insects, fish, and even turtles adapt similar strategies. Nature repeats the theme over and over: survival through surrender. But there's a deeper, almost spiritual rhythm behind it. When animals hibernate, the world around them continues. Blizzards howl, storms rage, predators starve, and yet the hibernator rests untouched, cocooned in a state beyond fear or hunger. It's as though they trust the universe to hold them, to keep them safe until the Earth's pulse quickens again. In a way, hibernation isn't just survival, it's faith made flesh. The body becomes its own sanctuary. For those who study this mystery, hibernation challenges our very understanding of life. We define being alive by heartbeat, breath, and activity, but hibernation blurs those lines. When a frog's heart stops for months, when its brain shows no activity, when it appears lifeless, yet awakens with the first touch of warmth, it forces us to ask, what is life? Is it the movement of blood, or the potential for movement? Is stillness death, or simply a different kind of living? Even time itself bends around the hibernator. In its slowed state, perception ceases. The brain's awareness of days and nights dissolves. When the animal finally wakes, it's as though no time has passed. For it, winter is not endured, it's skipped. The months between autumn and spring are simply gone, erased by nature's sleight of hand. It's one of the few true forms of time travel known to science. Some researchers believe hibernation could hold the key to solving human problems of aging. The slower an organism's metabolism, the slower its cells deteriorate. A hibernating animal's body repairs itself efficiently, preserving organs and tissues. If we could induce a similar state in humans, a safe, reversible slowdown, we might extend lifespan, protect astronauts from cosmic radiation, or allow long-term medical preservation. Imagine a world where comatose patients aren't fading but merely hibernating, waiting for medicine or technology to catch up, where a traveler to Mars sleeps for 6 months, awakening as young as when they left. It sounds like science fiction, yet it's rooted in what nature already does effortlessly. The bear, the squirrel, the frog, they are living proof that biology can pause without breaking. That time can be held like a breath. Back in the wild, as winter wanes, the forest prepares for its awakening. The sun pierces through the white stillness, melting snow into silver streams. The scent of thawing earth rises like a forgotten memory. Deep inside her den, the bear begins to stir. Her heartbeat accelerates, one slow thump at a time. Muscles tighten, bones creak. She yawns. A cavernous echo rolling through the cave. Months of stillness unravel in seconds. The world outside hums again. And somewhere in the silence that lingers, hidden in the soil and snow, a truth remains. That the power to endure isn't always found in strength or speed, but in surrender, in patience, in the courage to rest. When winter drapes its silent veil across the world, nature doesn't just fall asleep, it powers down. Every breath, every pulse, every flicker of warmth inside a hibernating body becomes a calculation, an act of precision honed by millions of years of survival. What we call hibernation is far more than rest. It's the universe's most advanced energy-saving mode, one that makes even our best human technology seem primitive. Deep within a hollow log, a chipmunk curls into a tight ball. Its body is smaller than your hand, yet inside it lies a secret that could change how we understand life itself. In summer, this tiny creature is a blur of movement, gathering seeds, darting through grass, storing food for the cold ahead. But when the frost thickens and the air grows sharp, the chipmunk begins a transformation so profound it borders on science fiction. Its heartbeat, once a rapid-fire rhythm of hundreds of beats per minute, slows until it's almost imperceptible. Its body temperature drops close to freezing. Breathing becomes a whisper, one inhalation every few minutes. From the outside, it looks lifeless. But inside, it's performing one of the most intricate dances in nature, conserving just enough energy to stay alive until the world returns to warmth. Imagine a power plant that could reduce its energy use by 99% without shutting down. That's what the hibernating body does. Every process inside it, from digestion to brain function, winds down like a clock being gently turned back. It doesn't stop, it simply slows to a crawl. Cells stop dividing. The liver halts most of its work. The heart beats so slowly it's hard to detect even with instruments. It's not death. It's deliberate dormancy, like a machine humming softly on standby, waiting for the next command. In the still darkness, this energy-saving mode becomes its lifeline. For months, no food enters the stomach, no water touches the tongue. Yet the body endures. It draws from fat reserves, but carefully, releasing energy in tiny doses, just enough to keep vital organs functioning. The animal becomes the ultimate minimalist, living on the bare minimum required to exist. It's here that nature shows its genius. The process isn't random. It's mathematically perfect. Too slow a heartbeat and the animal dies. Too fast and it burns through fat reserves before winter ends. The balance between life and loss is as fine as a snowflake resting on air. What's astonishing is that the animal's body knows how to do this instinctively. Long before the first snow, chemical messengers in its brain begin preparing the shift. Hormones like melatonin, triggered by shorter days, tell the body that it's time to conserve. The liver starts converting sugars into long-term fat storage. The blood changes composition, becoming thicker, more resistant to freezing. Even the genes inside each cell start rewriting their instructions, slowing down protein production, protecting DNA from damage, and activating molecules that prevent the buildup of waste. This isn't just slowing down. It's a total biological redesign, a masterpiece of efficiency that could inspire the future of medicine, technology, and even space travel. Scientists call this phenomenon metabolic suppression, and it's one of the most extreme examples of energy control found in nature. Some hibernating species can drop their metabolic rate by over 95%. For humans, a 10% drop would cause unconsciousness or death, but these creatures survive it effortlessly. It's as if they've evolved a secret key to life's pause menu, a hidden setting in the code of existence that we've long forgotten how to access. Imagine what this means. A tiny bat clinging to a cave ceiling, weighing less than a coin, can survive 6 months without food, without movement, without warmth. Its body consumes so little energy that even its cells enter a semi-suspended state. Its heart, once racing at 400 beats per minute, now ticks a slow, hypnotic rhythm, maybe 10 beats per minute. Enough to whisper life, nothing more. And yet when spring arrives, it simply wakes, stretches its wings, and flies as if time never passed. Energy conservation isn't just survival, it's transformation. By lowering energy use, hibernators also slow aging. Their cells don't burn out as quickly because they're not overworking. Free radicals, the unstable molecules that cause cellular damage, almost vanish. Muscles remain strong even after months of immobility. Bones retain their density. A bear emerging from hibernation is not weaker, it's rejuvenated, as though months of sleep rebuilt it from within. To humans, that's a miracle. But to nature, it's routine. The key to this incredible efficiency lies in timing. Each species has evolved to activate its energy-saving mode at just the right moment. The trigger could be temperature, food scarcity, or daylight length. Once it begins, the entire body collaborates. The nervous system slows the heartbeat. The lungs reduce breathing. The kidneys filter less. The digestive system shuts down. Even the brain releases neurochemicals that quiet the mind. The result, a perfect harmony of biological silence. If we could translate this into human terms, it would be like living an entire season on the energy from a single sandwich and waking up feeling refreshed. The deeper scientists dig, the stranger it gets. In certain animals, like ground squirrels, body temperature can fall to nearly the same as the surrounding air, sometimes below freezing, and yet life persists. Their cells, instead of bursting or crystallizing like ours would, protect themselves with a natural antifreeze. Molecules inside their bodies bind to water, preventing ice from forming within tissues. It's energy conservation taken to the edge of death. And it works flawlessly. But here's what makes it even more extraordinary. When animals awaken from hibernation, they don't just resume life instantly. They re-enter it gradually, with a built-in warm-up cycle. The heart starts beating faster, the lungs expand more deeply, the blood warms, and energy floods back into the muscles. It's like restarting a machine that has been perfectly maintained through the entire shutdown. To witness this transition in nature is breathtaking. Scientists have recorded bears waking from hibernation with their body temperatures rising degree by degree, their breathing deepening, their eyes flickering open as light returns. There's a moment, barely noticeable, when the boundary between survival and revival disappears. One moment they are still, the next alive again. It's not just awakening, it's resurrection through rhythm. What fascinates researchers most is that this energy-saving trick is deeply encoded. Even when isolated from natural environments, these animals still know when to begin their metabolic descent. Their internal clocks, circadian and circannual rhythms, act as cosmic calendars, ticking quietly inside their genes. The earth turns, the light fades, and somewhere in their DNA, a signal whispers slow down. That whisper is what keeps them alive through months of nothingness. And in that stillness, the world above changes. Storms rage, ice thickens, predators roam. But the hibernator doesn't move. Its world is internal now. Its universe shrinks to a heartbeat, a faint breath, a spark of life burning at 1% capacity. Every molecule works in cooperation. The fat reserves slowly melt into energy, providing warmth without waste. Hormones regulate perfectly timed pulses of glucose to the brain. The liver releases just enough fuel to keep essential systems running. The kidneys conserve water, recycling every drop of fluid possible. The body becomes a self-sustaining ecosystem, a sealed world of efficiency and precision. There is no panic, no pain, no hunger. Only rhythm, only balance. The kind of peace humanity has been searching for in meditation, medicine, and technology. A peace that exists not in movement, but in the art of staying still. But the story of this extreme energy-saving mode doesn't end with how animals endure the cold. There's something even more mysterious hidden within their biology. A secret connection between hibernation, time, and transformation. Because as scientists discovered, animals don't just save energy. They alter their very relationship with life and death. Inside that cave, a creature lies motionless. Its fur is thick with frost, its breath invisible. To an untrained eye, it looks like a corpse, but within that stillness, every cell is performing a miracle. This is the peak of hibernation's energy-saving mode, where life becomes almost invisible, and yet somehow endures. To truly understand this, we have to travel inside, beneath the fur, beneath the skin, into the molecular silence that defines the hibernator's body. Here, metabolism, the grand machine of energy conversion, has slowed to a crawl. The usual rush of chemical reactions is gone. Enzymes that once churned relentlessly now barely stir. In most creatures, this would mean death. But hibernators have evolved an astonishing trick. They selectively decide which systems stay active and which can rest. The brain, for instance, never truly sleeps. It remains dimly lit, like a candle in a cavern, monitoring just enough to detect danger. The heart, though slowed, keeps a faint rhythm. The liver and kidneys, once bustling with activity, now operate at a whisper. Each organ becomes a monk, meditating in perfect harmony with the others. It's not just energy conservation, it's controlled stillness, precision perfected by time. In this deep quiet, something remarkable happens to the blood. Ordinary creatures would suffer damage from reduced oxygen. Cells would die, organs would fail. But in hibernators, blood vessels open wider, improving flow even at near zero pressure. Their red blood cells release oxygen more efficiently, feeding the body on the smallest possible supply. It's as if the bloodstream learns to stretch its resources, rationing every molecule like a measure guarding gold. The brain, too, changes its rules. Normally, it consumes nearly 20% of the body's total energy. During hibernation, that figure drops dramatically. Neural circuits power down, but not in chaos. They dim systematically, region by region, preserving only the functions needed to maintain life. Some scientists believe that even in this subdued state, the brain runs tiny maintenance routines, repairing DNA, clearing waste, and refreshing synapses. It's a biological reboot while the body lies still. It's no coincidence that this pause renews the animal. When it wakes months later, it's not frail but revitalized. Hibernation doesn't deplete, it restores. That's because, during energy saving, the body enters a unique balance between destruction and renewal. Damaged proteins are recycled. Waste products are metabolized. The immune system remains vigilant but restrained, preventing unnecessary inflammation. It's a perfect equilibrium, a state of inner order that the conscious mind could never sustain awake. In the flickering light of a research lab, scientists have tried to mimic this perfection. They've cooled mice and primates to near hibernation states, reducing metabolism without harm. Some experiments even managed to place animals in suspended animation for hours, then bring them back alive and unchanged. The implications are staggering. If humans could do the same, it could revolutionize medicine. Imagine surgeons having more time to operate, or astronauts crossing the solar system while their bodies slumber in low-energy preservation. Hospitals could place patients in controlled hibernation to halt disease progression or heal trauma at a molecular pace. Yet nature performs this feat effortlessly in the wild every single year. As the blizzard outside rages, the hibernator continues its quiet symphony. Fat molecules break apart, releasing energy into the bloodstream. The heart's gentle contractions send that energy wherever it's needed most, to the brain, to the lungs, to the soul's last flame. Every calorie is precious. There is no waste, no excess, no greed. If there's poetry in biology, this is it. A story of endurance written in heartbeats that refuse to stop. What's even more fascinating is that hibernators seem to control time itself. For them, a winter that lasts 5 months feels like a brief pause. Their biological clocks slow to match their metabolism. Every second stretches, every hour lengthens. In this stretched-out reality, their lifespan effectively extends. While predators age through winter, the hibernator's body barely moves forward. Time bends around their stillness, granting them extra seasons of life. Scientists have observed that animals which hibernate often live longer than their non-hibernating cousins. It's as if hibernation grants them stolen time, a secret extension of existence hidden in the art of doing nothing. But the mechanics of this energy-saving spell are even deeper. Inside each cell, mitochondria, the engines of life, shift from burning fuel recklessly to operating in low gear. This prevents oxidative damage, the kind that causes aging and disease. The DNA remains stable, and even when the temperature drops near freezing, it stays protected. Meanwhile, special proteins known as heat shock proteins come alive. Their job, to shield other proteins from folding incorrectly during cold stress. These tiny guardians ensure that the body's machinery remains intact, ready to restart at the first kiss of warmth. In this way, hibernation becomes a kind of living preservation, not of rest, but of readiness. The animal doesn't sleep to escape the world, it sleeps to outlast it. And yet, the body doesn't remain entirely still. At intervals, the hibernator stirs slightly, Its temperature rises just a bit, its heart quickens, and it takes a few deep breaths. These moments, called arousal phases, are brief rehearsals for revival. No one knows exactly why they happen, but many believe they're essential to keep the system balanced, to clear toxins, refresh the brain, and ensure survival through long months of slumber. Even in rest, nature rehearses awakening. What makes this all the more extraordinary is how precise the process is. A single mistake, a misstep in temperature regulation, a mistimed arousal, could be fatal. Yet, these creatures manage it flawlessly, guided by instincts older than civilization. They don't analyze, they don't plan. They simply obey the rhythm encoded in their genes. It's a harmony so perfect that even modern science struggles to comprehend it fully. Every winter, across forests and mountains, this hidden ballad unfolds. Bears in their dens, bats in their caves, snakes deep underground, each locked in their own silent performance of energy mastery. The snow may bury the earth, the rivers may freeze, but beneath it all, life hums quietly, conserving, waiting. And perhaps, without realizing it, humans have always been drawn to this same idea: to rest, to retreat, to conserve energy in a restless world. We call it meditation, mindfulness, sleep. But what if those instincts are echoes of something older, a forgotten biological memory of the hibernators we once might have been? Because the line between wakefulness and dormancy isn't as rigid as we think. Deep sleep shares patterns with torpor. Body temperature drops slightly, metabolism eases, brain waves slow. It's possible that long ago, early humans endured harsh winters through primitive hibernation-like states, huddled in caves, burning minimal energy, surviving on body fat until spring returned. If that's true, hibernation isn't just an animal ability, it's a human inheritance, one we've simply outgrown. When scientists study this further, they find hints everywhere, genes in our DNA that resemble those of hibernators, dormant pathways that might one day be reawakened. It's a tantalizing mystery, perhaps, hidden deep inside every one of us. There's a switch waiting to be flipped, one that could let us pause, heal, and endure beyond the limits of time. Outside, the storm begins to calm. The forest glistens with frost, and dawn spreads across the snow like spilled light. The hibernator, still curled within its den, remains unmoving, unaware of the sunrise. Yet inside, something subtle begins to shift. A spark rekindles, a pulse grows stronger. The body, still conserving every ounce of energy, is preparing for the great reawakening that always follows stillness. Because in nature, no silence lasts forever, and even in the deepest energy-saving mode, life continues its patient, unstoppable rhythm. Beneath this frozen silence, where the air cuts like glass and the soil is hard as stone, something impossible is happening. Here, in the heart of winter's cruelty, life doesn't die. It waits, motionless, breathless, almost frozen solid, yet somehow still alive. This is the realm of creatures who have mastered the impossible, the art of freezing without dying. They do not fear the frost. They become one with it. Their bodies turn cold as ice. Their hearts stop. Their blood turns thick like syrup. And still, deep inside, life hums quietly, waiting for the first whisper of warmth to return. The ground squirrel of the Arctic, the wood frog of North America, and even certain species of turtles, all share this uncanny talent. They can step across the line that separates life and death and come back unharmed. To us, that sounds like a fairy tale. But to them, it's biology. Let's begin in Alaska, where the world seems carved from ice and silence. Snow stretches endlessly across the horizon. In a burrow not deeper than a man's forearm, an Arctic ground squirrel curls into itself, wrapped in fur dusted with frost. For months, the sun won't rise above the horizon, and temperatures will plunge to nearly -40 degrees. Inside that burrow, the air is just as cold. But the squirrel doesn't shiver. It doesn't breathe deeply. It doesn't move. Its body temperature drops below freezing. Yes, below zero, something no human could survive. The heart, once a rapid flutter of hundreds of beats per minute, slows to one faint thump every minute or two. The brain, once alive with signals and thought, goes silent. From the outside, it looks dead. But it isn't. It's simply paused. A spark of life encased in frost. Scientists call this state supercooling, a phenomenon so extraordinary that it defies the normal laws of biology. Normally, when the temperature drops below zero, water inside cells turns into ice, expanding and tearing through tissue like shards of glass. It's why frostbite kills. Ice crystals shred living flesh from within. But the Arctic ground squirrel has found a loophole in nature's code. Its blood is filled with special proteins, biological antifreeze, that prevent ice from forming inside its cells. Instead, ice gathers harmlessly in spaces between cells, leaving the vital parts intact. This means the squirrel can freeze almost entirely solid without destroying itself. It becomes, in essence, a living statue. When researchers discovered this, they couldn't believe it. They thought their instruments were broken. How could something whose body temperature measures below freezing, with no detectable heartbeat or breath, still be alive? But when they warmed it gently, the impossible happened. The squirrel twitched, stirred, and then, miraculously, woke up, as if nothing had happened at all. Imagine that: your body frozen for weeks or months, your heart silent, your blood congealed, and then one day warmth returns, and so do you. No pain, no damage, just life resumed. It sounds like science fiction, but it's nature's reality. Farther south, under a thin crust of snow and ice, another miracle sleeps: the wood frog. It's small, no bigger than a child's palm, and every winter it allows itself to freeze completely. Its heart stops, its lungs cease, its eyes turn cloudy like glass marbles. The frog becomes as stiff as stone. Scientists once thought they were looking at dead animals. But then spring came, the snow melted, and as sunlight touched the ground, these frogs began to thaw. One by one they blinked. Hearts began to beat again, limbs twitched. Then, slowly, as if remembering what it meant to live, they hopped away. The secret lies in sugar, specifically glucose. When temperatures fall, the frog's liver floods its bloodstream with massive amounts of glucose, which acts like antifreeze. The sugar protects the cells from freezing damage, coating them in a sweet shield that prevents ice from forming inside. The frog literally preserves itself in syrup. Its blood turns to a sugary slush, its tissues become encased in protective sugar shells, and everything stops without dying. When spring sunlight seeps through the forest floor, that sugar melts back into normal blood, the heart restarts, and life resumes. It's not revival, it's continuation. The frog picks up where it left off, as though winter was just a long, deep breath. What's astonishing is how calm the process is. There's no panic, no last breath before freezing. It's a ritual, a surrender. The frog finds a patch of damp leaves, burrows down, and simply lets go. It allows the cold to take over, trusting its body to remember how to come back. To us, that kind of faith in nature feels divine. For scientists, it's a window into a future we can only dream of. Because if nature can freeze and unfreeze life safely, what could humans achieve if we learned that same trick? Cryonics, organ preservation, long-term space travel, all could become real. Imagine freezing a damaged heart or brain for months, then reviving it without harm. It's the dream of medicine, and these small creatures hold the key. But there's something deeper at play here. A philosophy written into the frost. These animals aren't escaping the cold. They're embracing it. They've learned to coexist with death, to let it brush against them and pass. They've discovered a balance so delicate that even science struggles to define it. They don't fear the stillness because, for them, stillness is not the end, it's a bridge. Every heartbeat, every breath they suspend is a message to the world. Survival doesn't always mean resistance. Sometimes, it means surrendering with trust, letting nature carry you through the harshest season, holding faith in the thaw that always follows. Deep in the Canadian wilderness, the frost line runs deep, and beneath it, countless creatures lie hidden: insects, amphibians, even fish, each of them using its own version of this frozen miracle. The gray tree frog, for example, survives by replacing much of its body water with glycerol, another natural antifreeze. The painted turtle, when buried in icy mud, switches its metabolism entirely, surviving for months without oxygen, generating energy through chemical pathways that would poison any other creature. They don't fight nature's cold grip. They dance with it. To a casual observer, it looks like nothing is happening. But if you could peer into the microscopic world of their cells, you'd witness a spectacle, a symphony of control. The moment the cold begins to bite, genes awaken. They send out signals, commanding cells to produce protective molecules, to shift energy, to prioritize survival over function. Proteins fold differently. Membranes stiffen strategically. Even DNA strands curl tighter to avoid damage. Every reaction is deliberate, rehearsed by millions of years of evolution. In this frozen stillness, nature achieves something we humans have never mastered: perfect conservation. There's no waste, no decay. Energy use falls almost to zero, yet the machinery of life remains intact, waiting. If you touched one of these creatures, it would feel cold and lifeless. But if you warmed it in your hands long enough, you'd feel a pulse return beneath your fingers. Faint, then stronger, then alive again. What's most mysterious is that these animals don't seem to wake up in the way we understand it. They don't gasp or panic. They just begin, as if their consciousness, too, was preserved, frozen in place, untroubled by the passage of time. To them, months of winter are nothing but an instant of stillness. The forest around them can change completely. Trees break, rivers freeze, storms roar, but when they emerge, they continue their song exactly where they left off. For the frozen yet living, time doesn't flow, it stops and waits alongside them. In that sense, these creatures are not merely survivors of winter. They are masters of time itself. They step beyond its flow, holding life still until the world is ready again. It's a form of immortality, not in eternity, but in pause. The power to stop aging, to halt decay, to defy the relentless march of the seasons. And as we look closer, one can't help but wonder whether this mastery is nature's way of reminding us that life is more flexible than we imagine, that it can bend, twist, freeze, and still endure, waiting patiently for the right warmth to return. In the deep silence of winter, when the world seems locked in glass, it's easy to believe that everything is dead. The trees stand bare and skeletal, rivers lie frozen mid-motion, and not a sound breaks the air. But beneath that illusion of death, something ancient continues, a quiet pulse, a promise that life is not gone, only waiting. This is the unseen kingdom of the frozen yet alive, a secret civilization that thrives at the edge of impossibility. Each winter, countless creatures slip into this suspended world, surrendering to temperatures that would kill almost anything else. They let the cold overtake them, trusting an ancient code written into their genes to carry them through the darkness. Inside the frozen frog, for instance, the story unfolding is nothing short of alchemy. As ice creeps across its skin, sensors in its body send a signal to the brain. The response is immediate and deliberate. The frog's liver begins pumping sugar into the bloodstream with incredible speed, coating every cell in glucose. This syrup, like flood, prevents the water inside the cells from freezing solid. Instead of rupturing, the cells simply shrink slightly and hold their structure. It's an emergency shield, one that transforms the frog's body into a living crystal. Within minutes, its heart stops. Blood no longer flows. Its organs stiffen. And yet, unlike in death, nothing breaks down. Every molecule holds its place, suspended mid-motion like dancers frozen in time. There's no decay, no damage, no panic, only stillness. It's a form of perfection that even human cryogenics has yet to match. Meanwhile, the Arctic ground squirrel, thousands of miles away, performs its own version of this miracle. Its body temperature falls to the lowest ever recorded in a warm-blooded animal, sometimes as low as -2 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, it should be dead. Its blood should crystallize, its organs should fail. But it doesn't. Instead, the squirrel's brain releases a chemical signal that tells the rest of the body to enter. Metabolic silence. Heartbeat slows almost to zero, breathing stops, and even brain activity fades into faint ripples. To a human observer, it would look lifeless. To nature, it's a perfect equation: energy saved, structure preserved, life maintained. Every few weeks, the squirrel's body performs a ritual known as arousal. Without warning, it warms itself back to normal temperature, the heart races, blood surges, the brain reawakens, but only for a few hours. Then, as if satisfied with its own survival, it cools again, returning to its icy trance. Scientists believe these arousal periods are vital. They allow the animal to repair cells, clear waste, and ensure its brain remains functional. It's like the body's own quality check, ensuring that everything is ready when spring finally calls. In that cyclical freezing and thawing lies one of nature's greatest paradoxes: death and life in perfect rotation. A creature that dies and resurrects over and over again without ever truly dying. A breathing metaphor for the resilience of existence itself. If you listen closely, this story echoes far beyond the tundra and the forest. It resonates through time, across species, across imagination. For centuries, humans have dreamed of doing what these creatures do effortlessly: to sleep through ages, to preserve life against decay, to pause the inevitable march of time. In myths and legends, this idea has always been present: Snow White preserved in her glass coffin, sleeping princesses waiting for spring's kiss, heroes awakening centuries later. But for these animals, it's not a story. It's a strategy, and here's what makes it even more astounding. The process is completely natural. No machines, no chemicals, no human invention. Just instinct, evolution, and trust. Every molecule in their bodies has learned to cooperate, to align perfectly with the rhythm of the earth. They are nature's proof that life doesn't fear cold, it understands it. In a world where humans battle against every element, wrapping ourselves in heat, building walls, inventing technology to escape the environment, these creatures remind us that sometimes survival means surrender. Not resistance, but rhythm. Deep within frozen lakes, fish called Antarctic icefish glide through near solid water, their veins filled with antifreeze glycoproteins that prevent ice crystals from growing. Their blood, almost transparent, flows slowly, carrying oxygen in ways no other vertebrate can replicate. It's a haunting sight: ghostly creatures moving gracefully through a world that should kill them instantly. But they thrive, elegant and unhurried, their very existence a rebellion against what we believe is possible. Even in the insect world, there are masters of the freeze. The goldenrod gallfly, a tiny, fragile creature, spends its winters encased in a frozen stem. Inside, its body produces glycerol, a natural antifreeze that keeps its cells intact. As the plant freezes, so does the insect, and months later, when the first warmth returns, it awakens, breaks free, and continues as though nothing happened. Its entire concept of time reduced to a single frozen frame between seasons. In all of these creatures, the same truth hums quietly: life doesn't always need to move to exist. It can hold still. It can sleep inside ice and wait for the right moment to return. It can freeze, and yet remain alive. Scientists studying these frozen survivors often describe them as biological miracles. But nature doesn't see them that way. For nature, this is balance. For life to endure, it must be flexible, capable of stretching across extremes. Fire and frost, motion and stillness, life and near death, all are simply different expressions of the same persistence. Inside the wood frog's frozen heart, even as it lies encased in snow, a few molecules continue their faint choreography. The cells whisper to one another, exchanging trace signals that keep the system intact. It's not consciousness, it's memory, the memory of warmth, the memory of life. That memory alone is enough to sustain it through the long winter. When spring finally arrives, sunlight melts through layers of ice and snow. The forest floor begins to breathe again. The frogs thaw, their syrupy blood flows freely once more. Their hearts begin to pulse in soft, rhythmic beats. Within hours, they emerge, unchanged, ageless, unaware of how close they came to death. The world outside, however, has transformed. Where there was silence, there is sound. The trickle of melting ice, the call of returning birds, the soft hum of new life. The frozen ones return to this chorus as though they never left, each heartbeat syncing again with the rhythm of the living world. For the scientists who watch, it's a spectacle that never loses its wonder. They see in these creatures not just resilience, but potential. The possibility that one day humans might unlock this same secret. If we could freeze organs without damage, we could save millions of lives. If we could place the human body into safe, suspended stasis, we could cross the stars. If we could borrow nature's patience, perhaps we could pause the suffering that comes with aging or disease. Yet, Even if we never master it, the lesson of the frozen yet alive remains the same. That life is far stronger, far more adaptable, and far more mysterious than we can ever measure. Because sometimes life doesn't need to fight to survive. Sometimes it just needs to wait, still, silent, and perfectly at peace within the cold. Every winter, as the world drapes itself in white and silence, a quiet contest begins beneath the snow. It is not a battle of claws or teeth, nor a fight for territory or dominance. It's a competition of endurance, a hidden marathon of patience, to see who among nature's creatures can sleep the longest, who can outlast the cold, who can vanish deepest into stillness and return again with the spring. They are the long-napped champions, the masters of the great winter retreat. To them, hibernation is not just rest, it's strategy, science, and survival written into their bones. Among these champions, one stands out, the bear, the monarch of the hibernating world. Its legend has traveled through time, whispered in folklore and poetry. For centuries, humans believed bears simply curled up for the winter in cozy dens, snoring through the snow until spring arrived. But the truth is far more fascinating. When a bear prepares for hibernation, it's not merely going to sleep. It's entering one of the most complex physiological transformations known in the animal kingdom. In autumn, when berries shrivel and rivers begin to freeze, the bear eats endlessly, consuming tens of thousands of calories a day. Salmon, nuts, roots. Anything with fat becomes fuel for what's coming. Its body ballooning, it doubles its weight, storing the energy it will need to survive the long, foodless months ahead. But this isn't just gluttony. It's preparation for something akin to suspended life. When winter tightens its grip, the bear seeks shelter. A hollowed tree, a cave, sometimes even a nest of leaves and earth. It lowers its massive body to the ground, exhales deeply, and begins its descent into stillness. Its heartbeat drops from 55 beats per minute to just 9. Its breathing slows to one inhale every few minutes. Its body temperature dips, but not dangerously, just enough to save energy without freezing. And then for months, the bear stays there, unmoving, unblinking, untouched by hunger or thirst. It doesn't eat. It doesn't drink. It doesn't even urinate or defecate. Inside, its body recycles waste products into usable nutrients. Muscles remain strong, bones stay dense, organs stay pristine. The bear emerges in spring thinner, yes, but healthy, alert, and ready. To us, that defies logic. To the bear, it's instinct. Scientists have studied this for decades, awed by the precision of the process. How can a creature so large survive 5 to 7 months without food or water, without losing muscle mass, without suffering blood clots or infections? The answer lies in evolution's patient genius. During hibernation, the bear's metabolism slows to a crawl. Its body becomes astonishingly efficient, producing exactly what it needs, nothing more. The kidneys, which normally flush out waste, convert toxins like urea into new proteins. Fat stores release steady streams of energy. Even the bear's heartbeat adjusts rhythmically to conserve oxygen. It's not sleep, it's an orchestra of silence. And yet it's not unconsciousness. Bears can wake instantly if disturbed. Mothers even give birth while hibernating, nursing their cubs in the dark warmth of the den while the snow piles above. Imagine that, the miracle of life unfolding in the stillness of half-death. A bear's hibernation is more than endurance. It's rebirth rehearsed each year. But the bear is not alone on this stage of stillness. Across the animal kingdom, hibernators of all sizes perform their own winter miracles. In dark attics and cave ceilings, bats hang in clusters, hundreds, sometimes thousands, each wrapped in its leathery wings like a cloak. Their hearts, which can beat over 1,000 times per minute when flying, slow to less than 20. Breathing nearly ceases. Their tiny bodies grow cold, matching the chill of the cave air. Months pass with no sound but the occasional drip of water echoing in the dark. To touch a hibernating bat is to touch something between life and stone. Its fur is cool, its limbs limp. Yet deep within, a faint spark remains, a heartbeat that refuses to surrender completely. Bats, unlike bears, enter a deeper hibernation known as torpor, a kind of biological trance. They lose almost all awareness of the world, their metabolism plummeting by 98%. And yet they endure. their survival balanced perfectly between life and death. When the warmth of spring seeps into the cave, they stir slowly. One by one, the colonies awaken, unfolding their wings like dark petals, ready to return to the sky. And then there are the hedgehogs, the spiny wanderers of twilight. In summer, they scurry through gardens and meadows, eating insects and worms, preparing for the cold ahead. But as frost creeps across the ground, they build nests from leaves and moss, curling into tiny balls. Their body temperature drops drastically, from nearly 35 degrees Celsius to as low as 2. Their hearts slow, their breathing becomes almost imperceptible. They are among the truest sleepers of winter. For hedgehogs, hibernation is survival against impossible odds. A single mistake, a den too shallow, a frost too deep, could end their story. And yet, year after year, they manage it. In the stillness of their leafy nests, life flickers on, small, steady, eternal. Each of these animals, the bear, the bat, the hedgehog, carries within it a unique rhythm. But they all share one secret, the ability to time their awakening with astonishing precision. When the first true warmth of spring touches the air, their bodies respond as if guided by an invisible clock. They rise, stretch, and return to the living world as if no time has passed at all. What is even more incredible is how different each species defines sleep. For some, like the bear, hibernation is a light, aware rest. For others, like the bat, it's nearly death. The length, depth, and rhythm vary. But the purpose is universal: survival through surrender. This is not laziness, it's mastery. The ultimate conservation of energy, the perfect agreement between body and earth. The bear trusts the forest to protect it. The bat trusts the dark. The hedgehog trusts the ground beneath its spines. And nature, in turn, honors that trust. It cradles them through storms and snow, through months of silence, until the world is ready again. If we could learn from them, perhaps we'd understand a truth long forgotten, that rest is not weakness, that in stillness there is strength, that slowing down doesn't mean giving up, but aligning with something larger than ourselves. Because these long nap champions aren't escaping the cold. They are dancing with it. Their sleep is not retreat but ritual. Each heartbeat, each breath, or the lack of it, is a verse in the poetry of survival. And somewhere deep beneath the snow, where the air is thick with silence, an old bear's heart beats faintly, once every few seconds. Its body is still, its spirit waits. Outside, winter howls across the mountains. But inside the den, time itself has stopped. The world holds its breath, suspended in the ancient rhythm of hibernation, while life rests on the edge of eternity. For months, nothing stirs in the forest. The rivers are frozen, the trees stripped bare. But if you listen closely, beyond the silence, there's a faint rhythm. Slow, patient, deliberate. It's the heartbeat of the hibernators, the long nap champions of the wild, each living their own story in the frozen theater of winter. Inside her den, a grizzly bear lies unmoving, her breath a whisper of steam in the dark. She hasn't eaten in nearly half a year. Her fat reserves are her only fuel, melting slowly into the bloodstream to sustain her body. Yet she is far from frail. Her muscles remain powerful, her bones unbroken. Her strength doesn't fade with stillness, it grows in silence. And then, deep within that stillness, a small sound breaks through. The soft squeak of newborn cubs. They are born blind, hairless, and helpless, yet alive within this chamber of suspended life. The mother's body, though slowed and cold, somehow produces milk, rich, warm, and perfect for the cub's survival. They nuzzle against her belly, finding warmth in a world that has forgotten it. Outside, the wind screams. Inside, life whispers. That's the paradox of the bear's sleep. It isn't an escape from death, but a sanctuary where creation continues against all odds. Meanwhile, in a cave not far from a frozen river, hundreds of bats cling to the ceiling like clusters of withered fruit. They've chosen this darkness carefully. Humidity just right, temperature steady. If the cave grows too warm, they risk waking too early and starving before spring. Too cold, and they may freeze. Their survival depends entirely on balance. Each bat's body is a miracle of control. Its heart, once hammering furiously in flight, now beats once every few seconds. Its wings, once engines of speed, are folded close, motionless for months. They are masters of restraint, sleeping not from exhaustion but from design. Every so often, a single bat stirs. It shivers violently, generating heat through rapid muscle contractions. The others remain frozen in stillness, conserving energy. One wrong movement could cost them the reserves they need to last the winter. Hibernation is not peace, it's precision. And yet, there's beauty in it. A cathedral of creatures bound by patience, each waiting for a world that will soon awaken again. When the first wave of spring warmth enters the cave, the transformation is instant. Wings unfold. Hearts race. The air fills with motion and echoes. The long sleepers take flight, returning to their nocturnal dance as if time never passed. But the longest of the sleepers, the smallest of the champions, might just be the garden dormouse, a creature that seems built from dreams and dusk. In the forest of Europe, it disappears for nearly 7 months each year. Through the deep chill of autumn, it eats constantly, storing fat beneath its silver fur. Then one night, when the air bites just a little too sharply, it crawls into its burrow, curls up, and fades away. Its breathing slows until a full minute passes between each breath. Its body cools almost to the same temperature as the soil around it. The heart, which once beat hundreds of times each minute, now ticks maybe a dozen, and then nothing. The dormouse sleeps while seasons shift above it. Snow falls, melts, returns again. The world forgets it exists. But when the first true warmth returns, not the fleeting touch of midwinter thaws, but the lasting breath of spring, the dormouse stirs. Slowly its heart begins to drum, its limbs twitch, its tiny nose quivers, and just like that it's back. The long nap ends and life resumes exactly where it paused. What these creatures share as a secret humanity has never fully understood. That time is not fixed. For them, it bends. When they hibernate, their bodies stretch time itself. A bear that hibernates for 6 months does not live those months the way we do. Its body clock slows, its metabolism nearly halts. It may live twice as long as another animal of its size precisely because half of each year it barely lives at all. Time doesn't pass through them, it pauses with them. They are not escaping the cold. They are bending time to survive it. To see this in action, scientists have placed tiny sensors inside hibernating animals, and what they've found is astonishing. Even in the deepest torpor, the brain is not entirely silent. There are faint pulses, brief flickers of activity, as though the mind is gently humming a lullaby to the body, reminding it to stay alive. These flickers maintain the animal's rhythm, ensuring that when the thaw comes, the body knows how to return to the world. Some researchers even believe that these microcycles of awareness, the tiny bursts of brain activity, may resemble something like dreaming. A hibernating creature might, in its own way, dream of movement, of warmth, of survival. Its body sleeps, but its spirit rehearses awakening. If you could shrink yourself and walk through this frozen world, you would see more than stillness. You'd see the pulse of life slowed to art. Bears wrapped in silence, bats hanging like ornaments in the dark, hedgehogs curled in their leaf-lined sanctuaries, dormice dreaming through entire seasons, all of them waiting for one sound, the thaw, the dripping of snowmelt, the first song of returning birds. When that sound comes, it's like a conductor raising a baton. The hibernating world responds. The air shifts, the dens warm. One by one, the champions awaken. The bear stretches and groans, her cubs mewling beside her. The bats unfurl their wings, filling the cave with motion. The hedgehog shakes the dew from its spines and shuffles into the pale morning light. Each awakening is quiet, reverent, and perfect. And in that first breath of spring, they all seem to share the same truth, that survival is not a matter of endless motion, but of knowing when to stop. That life can retreat without surrendering. That rest is not absence, but preparation. As the forest fills with sound again, the snow retreating into streams, the long nap champions emerge into the living world renewed. They have outlasted hunger, cold, and silence. They have turned stillness into survival, sleep into science. Their very existence reminds us that life does not always roar. Sometimes it hums softly beneath the snow, waiting for the right moment to awaken. When the world falls asleep under winter's blanket, it's easy to think everything has stopped. The rivers freeze, the trees hold their breath, and the stars watch in silence. But somewhere beneath the snow, in hollow logs and hidden dens, there's another kind of dream. One that doesn't happen in warm beds or under soft blankets. It happens inside the slow heartbeat of hibernation, in the in-between space where life almost ends but never does. This is the story of creatures that dream through winter. Not in the way we do, with fleeting images behind closed eyes, but through rhythms deeper than memory. While humans drift into sleep and wake within hours, hibernating animals enter a world where dreams stretch for months. Their bodies are still, their minds dim, and yet something ancient and profound continues beneath the surface. A whisper of consciousness that refuses to vanish completely. In a mountain cave, a black bear sleeps through the long Alaskan winter. Snow covers the entrance, sealing her inside a cocoon of silence. Her breathing is shallow, her heart beats once every few seconds, and her body temperature has dropped to near cold. But within her brain, something flickers faintly, a spark of thought, an echo of awareness. Scientists who have measured the electrical activity of hibernating animals have found something astonishing even in deep torpor. The brain is not silent. It hums softly, sending faint waves of activity through its networks, as if the creature were drifting in and out of dreams. These aren't dreams like ours, not wild, vivid scenes of color and memory. They are more like rhythmic pulses, instinctive reminders from the body to the mind you're alive. Keep going. The world will wake again. It's a strange thought, that even when frozen, life might still be dreaming. If you could peer into the slow heart of winter, you'd see that the dreaming begins long before the snow falls. As autumn fades, animals prepare not only their bodies, but their minds. The bear eats endlessly, building layers of fat that will sustain her. The squirrel gathers nuts, hiding them in small caches. The hedgehog burrows deep into piles of leaves. But something else happens too. Their internal clocks, those ancient instruments hidden deep within the brain, begin to change their rhythm. The mind starts to slow, matching the earth's descent into stillness. It's as if every living thing listens to the same song, a lullaby written by the turning of the planet itself. For the bear, hibernation is not unconsciousness. It's more like drifting on the edge of sleep, aware enough to sense danger or the faint cries of her newborn cubs, but peaceful enough to remain in suspended rest. She may shift her weight occasionally, stir in her dreams, or twitch her paws as if walking in the world of memory. There's something deeply human about that image. The great beast dreaming through months of darkness, kept alive by rhythm alone. But to understand what happens in those dreams, we have to look closer, not at movement or behavior, but at the strange science of the sleeping brain. When animals hibernate, their body temperature can drop dramatically, sometimes to near freezing. In that state, the chemical reactions in the brain slow almost to a halt. Neurons fire at a fraction of their normal speed. The space between thoughts becomes vast. Yet, even then, faint waves of activity ripple across the cortex. Slow, rhythmic oscillations remarkably similar to those seen in deep human sleep. Scientists believe these waves might be the biological signature of a kind of dream state. Not conscious, not imaginative, but essential, because even in hibernation, the brain must remember how to wake. In experiments with hibernating ground squirrels, researchers placed electrodes on their tiny heads and recorded their brain activity throughout the long winter. What they discovered was a pattern of cycles. Bursts of energy, like flickers of light in the darkness, occurring every few weeks. These waves corresponded with brief moments of arousal. When the squirrel's body temperature would rise slightly, its heart beat a little faster, its metabolism stir. Then, just as quickly, it would fall back into stillness. To the researchers, it was as if the squirrel's mind were checking in, surfacing for a moment to dream to reset, to ensure the machinery of life still remembered its song. And in a way, isn't that what dreaming has always been? A rehearsal for living, a bridge between what was and what will be. Even in humans, sleep serves this mysterious purpose, to restore, to reorganize, to repair. We dream not just to entertain ourselves, but to keep our minds whole. And in that sense, hibernating creatures are doing something similar, maintaining their inner world while their outer one disappears under snow. In a forest buried in ice, a small hedgehog lies curled within its nest of moss and leaves. Its breathing slows to a rhythm so gentle it's barely there. Weeks pass, maybe months, but in the darkness beneath the frozen soil, faint tremors run through its tiny muscles. Twitches, spasms, the language of dreams. Scientists have seen this in countless hibernators during periods of torpor, small bursts of muscle activity that resemble the movements animals make during REM sleep. What could it mean? Is the hedgehog dreaming of spring, of hunting worms in the damp earth, of warmth and light? Or is this movement purely mechanical, a reflex of the slowing nervous system? No one knows for certain. But it's hard to believe that such delicate rhythms, so precise, so cyclical, serve no purpose. Nature doesn't waste energy, not even in stillness. Every twitch, every heartbeat, every neural spark is a thread in the tapestry of survival. Perhaps those micro-dreams are the mind's way of keeping itself from dissolving entirely into the cold. And yet, there's something poetic about it. The idea that while snow buries the forest and the sky hides the sun, life below continues to dream. Each hibernator holds within its slumber the memory of motion, the blueprint of the world it left behind. It dreams in pulse and silence, in rhythms too slow for us to perceive. If we could translate those dreams, maybe they'd sound like the soft rumble of melting snow or the sigh of wind through trees, nature's quiet promise that nothing truly ends, it only rests. The phenomenon of dreaming through winter isn't limited to mammals. Insects, reptiles, and even amphibians enter states so deep that scientists struggle to define them. Some frogs freeze solid, their hearts stopped entirely, yet their bodies resume life when thawed. And still, their neural patterns suggest faint flickers of activity during their frozen months. It's as if the blueprint of consciousness refuses to go dark, no matter how long the night. In a frozen pond, a turtle lies buried in mud, its metabolism nearly erased. It hasn't breathed air in weeks. Its heart beats once every 10 minutes. Yet deep within its tiny brain, faint signals pulse, slow but steady, evidence that even here, in this suspended world, the spark of awareness persists. The turtle is neither awake nor dead. It exists somewhere between, dreaming of water that will one day warm again. To think that life can dream through the void is to glimpse nature's most profound secret. That memory itself is a form of endurance. The dream is not a luxury, it's a survival mechanism. It keeps the spirit alive while the body waits. It tells the frozen creature, you are still part of the world. Don't let go. This slow dreaming stretches across months, sometimes longer. In Arctic regions, where winters can last half the year, hibernators spend most of their lives asleep. The bear, the bat, the squirrel, all live in a rhythm of existence where half their lifetime is silence. Yet when they wake, they do so without confusion, without pain, without loss. Their bodies remember how to move. Their minds remember where they are. It's as though the dream has carried them safely through the darkness and set them gently back in the light. Somewhere, perhaps the line between dream and memory doesn't even exist for them. The winter passes like a single, long exhale, one dream, one season, one breath. And maybe that's the deepest secret of hibernation, that time itself is an illusion in the eyes of those who sleep through it. To the hibernator, there is no winter or spring, no months lost or regained. There is only one continuous moment, stretched thin, like a thread running through the stillness of the cold. The dream becomes the bridge that carries them from one world to the next, from death-like silence to rebirth. Beneath the crust of snow, the earth is still breathing. The air may be frozen, the rivers locked in glass, but in hidden dens and burrows, life is whispering to itself, not in words, not even in thoughts, but in dreams that stretch through months of silence. These dreams aren't made of images or voices, they are pulses of memory, waves of rhythm, echoes of the life that waits to be lived again. In this quiet theater of hibernation, every creature, from the mighty bear to the smallest frog, becomes a dreamer of time. The idea that a hibernating animal might dream is not fantasy. Scientists studying the electrical patterns of sleeping creatures have found proof that the brain, even in deep torpor, never completely turns off. There are flickers of energy, tiny bursts of neural light that move through the brain like ripples in still water. These bursts come in cycles, just as they do in our own sleep, suggesting that even in hibernation, nature refuses to surrender the rhythm of dreaming. And what might those dreams be? Maybe the bear dreams of rivers of sunlight glinting on salmon scales, of the scent of pine and honey. Maybe the bat dreams of air currents, of moonlit flight. Maybe the hedgehog dreams of damp soil and the soft hum of insects. Dreams, after all, are not just stories, they're memories. They're maps that help the mind remember how to return to the world when the cold releases its grip. In a small den beneath the roots of an ancient oak, a mother bear sleeps beside her cubs. Outside, the snow presses against the earth like a shroud. Inside there is warmth, the quiet rhythm of her breath, the muffled heartbeat of new life. The cubs twitch occasionally, their tiny paws trembling in the darkness. To an observer, it might look like movement in a dream, the first rehearsal of instincts they haven't yet lived. They've never walked, never seen the sun, and yet their muscles mimic the patterns of climbing, of running, of nursing. It's as though nature is teaching them in their sleep, preparing them for the spring they have never known. The mother stirs slightly, sensing them. She doesn't wake, but something inside her responds, an ancient awareness that transcends consciousness. Even in the depths of hibernation, the maternal bond remains. She dreams too, perhaps not of sights and sounds, but of warmth, safety, and the faint rhythm of the tiny hearts beside her. Hibernation for her is not only survival, it's creation. A dream so deep it becomes the cradle of life itself. Far above her den, snow drifts fall in endless silence. The forest looks lifeless. But if you could listen with the patience of the earth itself, you'd hear it, the faint, slow pulse of sleeping hearts. Each beat a promise that life is waiting. Each silence between beats a breath held through the cold. In the hidden caverns where bats hang in darkness, their dreams are quieter still. Suspended upside down, wrapped in their wings, they drift between death and sleep. Their brains flicker faintly with low-frequency signals. Their bodies remain still, conserving every ounce of energy. But occasionally one moves, a shudder of the wings, a twitch of the jaw, subtle signs that something deeper than survival is at work. It's as if the bat remembers the wind, remembers the feeling of gliding through night skies, the vibration of air under its wings. Those memories, encoded in its very bones, replay like echoes in the dark. The bat isn't conscious of them, but they exist. Faint rehearsals for the spring migration that will come when the world thaws. It's strange to think of dreams without awareness, but in nature, consciousness is not always necessary for meaning. The dream is not for pleasure or escape, it's for continuity, a thread of identity that connects one season to the next, one heartbeat to the next. For animals that spend half their lives asleep, this continuity is everything. Without it, the return to wakefulness would be chaos. Their minds would wake before their bodies were ready, or their instincts might fail to guide them. The dream bridges that gap, a soft murmur between endings and beginnings. And yet, for all its quiet grace, hibernation is not without peril. Sometimes the dream flickers too faintly, the body too cold, the fat reserves too low. A miscalculation of timing can mean death before spring. In these cases, nature shows no mercy. The forest floor becomes both cradle and grave. But even in death there's poetry, because every fallen hibernator feeds the roots, the soil, the cycle that will awaken again. The dream, in some form, continues. In another part of the world, under the icy crust of a pond, frogs lie frozen like gemstones. Their hearts have stopped completely, their bodies locked in frost. Yet, when scientists place tiny sensors near their brains, they detect faint oscillations, patterns that suggest that even in this state of suspended animation, there is organization, purpose, rhythm. The frog, though frozen solid, is not gone. It remembers how to return. It's as if its entire being hums with one phrase, wait. That word, that instinct, that whisper. It's what keeps all life connected through the cold. Wait for the light. Wait for the thaw. Wait for the return of warmth and sound. The earth itself seems to echo it each winter, as though the entire planet is dreaming through its own long sleep. When spring finally arrives, it doesn't happen in a single moment. It begins in small, delicate awakenings. The sun lingers a little longer each day. Ice cracks softly in the rivers. The air smells faintly of soil. Deep underground, where the hibernators lie, the first rays of heat begin to seep through. And in those dens and burrows, the dreams start to shift. What was once deep, slow, and distant begins to quicken. Brainwaves brighten, muscles twitch more often. The pulse returns, faint at first, then steady. The dream doesn't end, it transforms into awakening. The bear opens her eyes to the first slant of light filtering into her cave. The air tastes new. Her cubs stir beside her, squeaking softly, their tiny bodies pressing closer to her warmth. Outside, the snow is melting, trickling into rivulets that sing like distant bells. She doesn't remember the long winter. She doesn't need to. The dream has carried her through it. She rises, slow and heavy, and steps into the world she's always known, a world that feels both familiar and reborn. In that moment, every creature that slept through the frost awakens in unison. Bats flutter from caves, hedgehogs shuffle through damp leaves, frogs thaw and croak in newly melted ponds. The forest erupts with sound and motion. The dream is over, but its rhythm lingers. In every heartbeat, in every rustle of wings. It's as if the hibernators, in their deep unconsciousness, have been part of a great collective meditation, holding the world's memory while it rested. They dream not just for themselves, but for the earth, for continuity, for the promise that even the longest winter has an end. And so, year after year, the dream repeats. The same cycle, the same surrender, the same awakening. Each creature returns to its den knowing that the next winter will call it back to that sacred stillness, to that endless night filled with silent dreams. And when that time comes, they will once again close their eyes, slow their hearts, and drift into the deep, dreaming through another winter, carried once more by nature's gentle hand through the long, patient sleep of life suspended in time. When most people think of hibernation, they imagine snow-covered forests, icy caves, and sleeping bears buried beneath the frost. But not all hibernation happens in winter's grasp. In some corners of the earth, where the sun burns instead of freezes, life withdraws not from cold, but from heat. Here hibernation takes another name, aestivation, a word born from the Latin estes meaning summer. It is the forgotten twin of hibernation, the other side of nature's coin. While the north sleeps through ice, the south dreams through fire. Picture this: a barren desert stretching beyond sight, the sand shimmering like molten gold. The air trembles with heat, reaching temperatures that can melt the horizon. Even the wind feels heavy, thick with dust. Water is gone, food is gone. For weeks, sometimes months, the sun rains mercilessly, leaving the land cracked and hollow. In this hostile world, most creatures would perish. But some have mastered a secret older than the dunes themselves. They disappear. Beneath the parched earth, deep inside the stillness, a small African lungfish lies encased in a cocoon of mud. Months ago, when the last rains fell, it dug itself down as the river shrank to nothing. Now the lakebed is dry and lifeless, a field of dust and bones. Yet inside that cocoon, wrapped in a thin film of hardened mucus, the lungfish lives on. Its body has slowed to almost nothing. Its breathing has shifted from water to air. It no longer eats, no longer moves, no longer ages. For the entire dry season it waits. Not dead, not alive, just waiting. It is one of the oldest survivors on the planet, a creature that has outlived dinosaurs, ice ages, and extinctions by mastering the simplest rule of existence. When the world becomes unbearable, become still. In its underground chamber, the lungfish slows its metabolism by more than 90%. Its heart beats a few times an hour. Its gills collapse, replaced by small, primitive lungs that sip air through the cocoon. Its body begins to feed on its own reserves, carefully rationing what little energy remains until the rains return. When the first drops finally strike the earth months later, the mud softens. Water seeps into the cocoon. The lungfish twitches, stirs, and breaks free. Within hours, it swims again, as if it had only blinked. This is not sleep. This is time folded in half. In the deserts of Africa, South America, and Australia, countless creatures follow the same ancient rhythm. They vanish into the earth when heat becomes unbearable, entering this strange summer slumber that is both surrender and strategy. For them, aestivation is not escape, it's transformation. The land may burn, the sky may crack, but beneath it all, life remains in perfect, patient silence. Move east to the scrublands of India, and the pattern continues. When monsoon rains retreat and the soil hardens to stone, snails disappear. They seal themselves inside their shells with thin layers of hardened mucus, creating airtight chambers that trap precious moisture. For months they remain like tiny fossils, attached to rocks and trees, appearing lifeless. But inside, their hearts beat faintly. Their muscles are soft, their bodies moist, their life suspended in slow motion. When the first humid winds of the new season blow across the land, the shells begin to tremble. One by one, the snails awaken, dissolve their seals, and emerge, glistening under the soft rain. Reborn after months of dreaming in the heat, scientists have long marveled at this paradox. The same planet that forces animals to freeze in the north compels others to dry themselves to stone in the south, and both survive by the same principle, slowing down. In the face of extremes, life does not fight, it adapts by surrendering. In the burning heart of the Namib Desert, a small amphibian known as the desert frog burrows beneath the sand to escape the inferno above. Its body, fragile and water-bound, cannot endure the sun's wrath, so it digs deeper and deeper, until it finds a pocket of moist soil. There it curls into itself, secreting a thin layer of mucus that hardens into a cocoon, sealing in what little moisture remains. Its body temperature drops, its metabolism slows, and for months, sometimes years, it waits. To onlookers, it's as if the desert has swallowed it whole. But the frog is still alive, dreaming through heat the same way bears dream through snow. When the rare rains come, sometimes years apart, it awakens, emerges, and sings into the storm like a creature returned from the dead. Everywhere, the same story repeats in different languages of survival. In the swamps of South America, apple snails bury themselves in dry mud, shells sealed shut, waiting for the floodwaters to return. In the forests of Madagascar, lemurs fall into deep summer torpor, sleeping for months when food is scarce. Even the microscopic tardigrade, the indestructible water bear, can enter a dried-out state where it loses nearly all moisture, curling into a tiny husk that can endure decades without sustenance, surviving not only heat, but radiation, vacuum, and time itself. It is easy to mistake stillness for weakness, but in nature stillness is often strength disguised. The beauty of aestivation is not just in its endurance, but in its timing. These creatures know precisely when to withdraw. They sense shifts in humidity, pressure, even electromagnetic patterns, signals that tell them when the world is turning against them. And so, they act before disaster strikes. A frog burrows before the last puddle dries. A snail seals its shell before dawn's heat rises. A fish digs before the river vanishes. They move not out of fear, but intuition, an inherited wisdom older than language. What fascinates scientists most is that aestivation and hibernation share the same biological core. In both, the body reduces its consumption, the cells protect themselves from damage, and the organs learn to live in slow motion. But where hibernation shields against freezing, aestivation guards against burning. Both are forms of time travel, allowing life to skip the unlivable parts of the year. In the shimmering deserts of Sudan, a story is told by local tribes about a fish that sleeps through summer and wakes with the rain. For generations they believed it to be myth, until one season when the dry riverbeds cracked open and living fish were found buried deep in the mud. The villagers called them the sleepers. Science later called them lungfish. But to those who found them, it was proof of something divine, that life could rest within death, that the earth itself could hold dreams until the right moment. It's not only animals that know this secret. Some plants do too. Seeds of desert flowers lie dormant for years, sometimes decades, beneath the sand. They carry within them entire futures, colors, scents, nectar, and beauty, locked in silence until rain calls them awake. One day a barren wasteland blooms with color overnight, as if the ground itself has exhaled. Aestivation, in this way, is not absence, it's preparation. And as the sun blazes across these lands, the estivators remain hidden, trusting the world to remember them. Beneath the earth, their hearts whisper the same message: wait, the rain will come. This rhythm, this dance of disappearance and return isn't confined to deserts. It echoes in the rainforests, in dry riverbeds, even in mountain regions where heat and cold collide. Every corner of the planet has its sleepers, creatures that understand that survival doesn't always mean fighting. Sometimes it means knowing when to stop, when to wait, when to fold into yourself until the world becomes kind again. In the great theater of life, aestivation is the summer act of the same timeless play, the other half of nature's breath. The earth inhales and life awakens, it exhales and life rests. The seasons may differ, but the story remains the same. Whether it's the freezing dark of January or the blazing heat of July, the lesson is constant to endure. One must know how to be still. Far beneath a cracked plain in the Sahara, an ancient lungfish sleeps, encased in dust. It has seen 1,000 summers, 1,000 storms. Around it, the desert stretches endless and silent, but within its cocoon a faint heartbeat continues, waiting, listening, remembering. The heat above may burn for months, maybe years, but when the rain finally returns, the sleeper will awaken once more, ready to swim through a world reborn. When the world burns, when the air dries to dust, life does not vanish. It hides. Beneath the weight of the heat, below the skin of the desert, entire civilizations of creatures wait out the storm in perfect stillness. In these hidden kingdoms, time has no meaning. Months pass, then years, and yet the sleepers remain unchanged. Their hearts, their breath, their cells, all suspended in a quiet defiance of death. This is the paradox of the sun. It kills and sustains in equal measure, and the only way to survive its fury is not by enduring it, but by learning how to disappear. Deep beneath a cracked stretch of African earth, the lungfish lies folded within its cocoon of dried mud. The air outside could boil water. The ground above is barren, lifeless. But inside that shell of dust, the fish is protected by a delicate membrane it created before the world burned. That membrane holds just enough moisture to keep its body soft, just enough air to keep it alive. Its heartbeat slows to almost nothing. Every molecule within it moves with infinite patience. Months turn to years. The rain does not come. The mud hardens around it, becoming stone. Yet the fish waits, half a lifetime if necessary. Its body consumes itself in fractions, saving only what must remain. Then, one day, the sound returns. A soft rumble in the distance, a vibration through the ground. The clouds break. Rain, thick, heavy, furious, crashes against the dust. The earth drinks greedily, and beneath the soaked clay the sleeper wakes. The cocoon softens, splits open, a single fin twitches. The lungfish slides free, gasping at the flood that once buried it. To the world above, it is a miracle. To nature, it is routine. A few continents away, in the forests of Madagascar, another creature waits out its summer in a different way. The fat-tailed dwarf lemur, small enough to fit in your hands, spends half the year sleeping. But not through winter. When the heat rises and food grows scarce, it curls up in the hollow of a tree, tucks its tail beneath its body, and begins to slow. Its temperature drops until it matches the air around it. Its heart slows from 300 beats per minute to barely 10. Breathing becomes shallow, occasional. For up to 7 months, the lemur stays this way, hidden in its tree, surviving on the fat stored in its tail. It is the only known primate that hibernates. And perhaps in that quiet stillness we can glimpse something of ourselves, a faint echo of an ancient human memory, a time when our ancestors, too, might have withdrawn during seasons of famine or cold, their bodies slowing, conserving, surviving. If the lemur still carries this gift, maybe we once did too. In the deep wild of Australia, frogs have learned a similar trick. The water-holding frog, a strange survivor of the outback, burrows into the ground during the dry season. As the last puddles vanish, it creates a cocoon of shed skin, layer upon layer, like delicate paper, sealing in its body's moisture. Inside this strange suit, the frog sleeps, its heartbeat dropping so low it's almost imperceptible. For years, it can remain hidden, waiting for a single storm. Aboriginal tribes once relied on these frogs as a source of emergency water, gently squeezing them to drink the stored liquid before releasing them again. To the people, the frog was sacred, a living water jar, a symbol of patience and life preserved through drought. In the deserts of Chile, even snails have mastered the art of waiting. When the heat grows unbearable, they retreat into their shells, sealing the opening with a thin, glistening layer of hardened mucus called an epiphram. Behind this shield, their bodies shrink and still, their metabolism dropping to a fraction of normal. They hang motionless for months, sometimes clinging to branches, sometimes buried in sand, appearing to the world as nothing more than pale ornaments of stone. Yet inside a pulse remains, quiet but steady. It's easy to miss them. Travelers pass by, unaware that the trees they walk beneath hold sleepers. Entire summers pass, and then one day the heat breaks. Clouds gather, rain falls, and in that first breath of moisture, the snails awaken. They dissolve their seals and glide out of their shells as though nothing had happened. In the space between raindrops, the desert blooms with life once more. The beauty of estivation lies not just in survival, but in harmony. These creatures do not rage against the world's cruelty. They align with it. They understand the rhythm of extremes, that every inferno must end, every drought must yield. Their patience is their power. Scientists studying these animals have found that estivation is as complex as hibernation, perhaps even more so. The same biological pathways activate, the same cellular magic unfolds. Enzymes slow. Mitochondria dim their energy. Waste is recycled. The immune system shuts down to conserve resources. Every organ participates in the pact of stillness. It's an orchestra of precision, a masterpiece written not in notes but in pauses. Inside the cells, certain proteins awaken, protective molecules that prevent dehydration and damage. DNA coils tighter, hiding its fragile strands from the sun's wrath. Lipids thicken to trap moisture. Every system within the animal becomes an engineer of survival. If hibernation is a story of endurance through ice, estivation is the same tale written in fire. Yet what's perhaps most fascinating is that estivation doesn't just save life. It transforms it. When these creatures awaken, their bodies are not weakened, they're renewed. Their tissues are intact, their energy conserved, their instincts sharp. The months of stillness are not lost time. They are repair, recalibration, rebirth. It's as if by slowing down, they've learned to heal in ways we humans have forgotten. And maybe that's the greatest secret hidden within this summer sleep. That rest itself can be revolutionary. That in the stillness between one breath and the next, life regenerates. In the human world, we often associate survival with struggle, motion, speed, resistance. But the desert teaches something different. Here, survival belongs to those who know how to yield. The snail that seals itself away, the frog that becomes a cocoon, the lemur that forgets the world for months. They are not running from life. They are listening to it. They are obeying the rhythm that everything on this planet shares: growth, rest, renewal. Even the earth estivates in its own way. The soil cracks, the rivers shrink, the seeds sleep, and then with rain it all begins again. Imagine what humanity could learn from that. If we could slow our own pace, quiet our chaos, and enter our own version of estivation, not of the body but of the mind, perhaps we too could survive the heat of our modern world. Perhaps patience, not resistance, is the truest form of strength. As the camera pans across the desert once more, storm clouds gather on the horizon. A single drop of rain falls, then another. The air shifts. The scent of petrichor, that sweet, earthy perfume of water meeting dust, rises like an ancient hymn. The ground, long silent, begins to move. Tiny cracks widen. Bubbles of trapped air escape with soft pops. And then from the earth they come, the sleepers. Frogs, snails, fish, insects, all waking in unison like a symphony rising from slumber. The desert, moments ago lifeless, explodes with sound and color. It is not resurrection, because nothing here was ever truly dead. It is continuity, the eternal rhythm of rest and return. The estivators crawl and leap and swim through puddles that will soon be gone again. But for now they live, they remember, they endure. Somewhere beneath that soft rain, a lungfish stretches in the mud, breathing deep for the first time in years. Its fins move slowly, feeling the current. The world around it has changed, new plants, new scents, new light. But it doesn't matter. It remembers the last flood, the last dawn, the last song of rain. It has waited all this time to hear that sound again, and so it swims forward into the new water, into the new season, as the sun breaks through the clouds and the desert glows with life once more. Because hibernation isn't just for winter. It's for every place, every moment, every creature that knows the secret truth of survival, that sometimes, to live, you must learn to wait in perfect, patient stillness. Since the dawn of time, human beings have watched the sleeping creatures of winter with awe and envy. We have stood at the mouths of caves, listening to the deep stillness inside, wondering what it must feel like to sleep through death's shadow and awaken untouched. We've seen bears vanish in the snow, frogs freeze in ice, and squirrels disappear beneath the roots. And in their stillness, we've seen something we once might have known, because buried deep in the story of humanity is a haunting possibility that we, too, once knew how to hibernate. It sounds impossible, a fantasy drawn from myth or science fiction. Yet when we look closer, when we peel back the layers of evolution and history, there are whispers of truth, traces of a power we've forgotten, a survival instinct locked away in the hidden architecture of our biology. Long before the comfort of cities and technology, humans lived in rhythm with the Earth's seasons. Winters were harsh, merciless, endless. Food vanished, fires burned low, the nights stretched for months. In those ancient days, survival depended not on speed or strength but on stillness. There are old legends, stories passed down by northern tribes, of families retreating into caves when the snows came, curling together for warmth, barely eating for weeks. They would slow their movements, breathe shallowly, sleep deeply. They called it the wintering. Some awoke thinner, weaker, but alive. Others never woke at all. To them, sleep was both a gamble and a grace. It's easy to dismiss such stories as folklore, but traces of truth lie in the bones. Archaeologists in Spain once unearthed the remains of ancient humans, bones showing signs of metabolic slowdown, similar to those seen in hibernating animals. Microscopic patterns in the marrow suggested cycles of growth arrest, as if the body had entered a state of suspended animation to survive starvation and cold. These weren't accidents of illness or famine, they were patterns, rhythms, deliberate adaptations. It's as though, thousands of years ago, our species knew how to pause. Even in our blood, there are clues. Humans share certain genetic pathways with known hibernators. The same molecular switches that trigger metabolic shutdown, the same enzymes that protect cells from oxygen deprivation. They lie dormant now, unused, but not erased. Evolution rarely discards what works, it simply tucks it away. Deep in our DNA, there might still be the blueprint of the long sleep. The idea that humans once hibernated feels like a myth, yet science keeps finding cracks in the certainty of disbelief. When researchers studied small primates like the fat-tailed dwarf lemur of Madagascar, they discovered something astonishing. The lemur, one of our distant cousins, can hibernate for 7 months, its body temperature dropping to match the air, its metabolism nearly ceasing. If a primate can do it, why not us? Perhaps the difference is not ability, but memory. That somewhere along our evolutionary path, we simply forgot how. The human body, after all, already flirts with hibernation every night. When we sleep, our temperature drops, our metabolism slows, our brain waves change. During deep sleep, the body repairs itself, cells regenerate, and memories consolidate. It's a smaller echo of the same symphony nature plays in hibernation, just on a shorter, safer scale. Sleep may be the last surviving ember of a greater power we once possessed. Imagine what it would mean if we could reignite that ember. In a quiet laboratory in Japan, scientists have been exploring this possibility, not in fiction, but in reality. They've discovered ways to induce a kind of torpor in mice by stimulating specific regions of the brain. These mice, though warm-blooded like us, were coaxed into lowering their temperature, slowing their heart rate, and reducing oxygen consumption without harm. When they awoke, they were healthy, alert, unchanged. For the first time, humans had seen the door to hibernation crack open, not in a bear, not in a squirrel, but in a creature much closer to ourselves. The implications are vast. If humans could safely enter a controlled torpor, we might be able to heal in ways medicine has never imagined. Imagine a patient with severe trauma, their organs failing, their blood losing oxygen. In hibernation, such damage slows. Cells don't die as quickly. The brain endures longer without air. Surgeons could gain precious hours to save a life. Astronauts could travel to Mars sleeping peacefully, their bodies preserved, their muscles protected, their minds untouched by the long stretch of isolation. Even death itself might one day be delayed, not by fighting it, but by slowing the clock that leads there. Yet for all its promise, this isn't just a scientific pursuit. It's a deeply human one, because it forces us to ask what it truly means to live. We spend our lives running from stillness, terrified of inactivity, obsessed with progress. But nature has always known that rest is not the opposite of life, it's a part of it. The creatures that hibernate aren't avoiding existence, they're aligning with it. They trust the rhythm of the planet, the turning of seasons, the balance between movement and pause. Perhaps once, humans did too. Imagine our ancestors gathered in the depths of a Paleolithic winter. The wind howls through the mouth of the cave. Firelight flickers on stone walls, illuminating hands painted in ochre and ash. A small child curls against their mother's chest. The air grows colder. The family eats what little remains, then settles into silence. Their breathing slows. The fire fades. Days pass. The snow piles higher. But within that darkness, the body learns something profound. How to endure through stillness. How to conserve what cannot be replenished. When the first warmth of spring touches the world again, they stir, blinking into sunlight. Their bodies ache, but their hearts are still beating. They have outlasted the cold. It's hard not to see poetry in that. Hibernation isn't merely a biological trick, it's a philosophy. One humanity has lost in the noise of modern life. We no longer wait. We no longer trust the slow passage of time. Every hour must be filled, every moment accounted for. But what if, somewhere inside us, there's still a remnant of that older rhythm? The ability to quiet everything, to surrender control, to enter a silence that heals. Modern science is searching for that silence again. In hospitals, researchers are experimenting with induced hypothermia, cooling patients' bodies during surgery to slow metabolism and protect the brain. It's not true hibernation, but it's close. In some cases, it has saved lives that would have been lost. By lowering temperature, doctors buy time, turning minutes into hours, giving the body a chance to survive what would otherwise be fatal. It's the same principle nature uses every winter, just guided now by human hands. There's an undeniable elegance in that. Humanity, once separated from nature by technology, now learning again from it. Every discovery in this field brings us closer to something that feels less like invention and more like remembrance. Because the ability to pause time, to rest beyond the reach of decay, isn't new. It's ancient. It's written in the veins of frogs, in the hearts of bears, in the whispers of our own DNA. And as we rediscover it, we're not creating something new, we're waking something old. Some scientists believe that one day, humans might routinely enter states of safe torpor for travel healing or even survival during disasters. Cryogenic preservation, once a dream of science fiction, may soon be replaced by natural, biological hibernation. The human body, slowed but alive, waiting out the storm of space or sickness. The line between life and death could become softer, the transition reversible. But before we reach for the stars, we must first understand what it means to rest. Truly rest. To let go of fear and trust the stillness we've always fought. Because when we look at the hibernators, at the bat sleeping in a cave, the squirrel beneath the roots, the bear nursing her cubs in the dark, we are not looking at something alien. We are looking at a mirror. They are reminders of what we once knew, that sometimes the greatest act of survival is not to move forward, but to wait. And so, the question lingers, what if hibernation is not an ability we lost, but one we've simply forgotten to remember? What if, deep within the human heart, beneath centuries of noise and light, there still lies a quiet switch waiting to be turned? One that could let us stop the endless rush of time, lower the noise of life, and sleep, not as escape, but as return. The ancient memory of the long sleep still hums quietly in our blood, waiting for science, or perhaps the earth itself, to call it back to life. For centuries, The idea that humans could hibernate lived in the realm of myth, a dream of timeless sleep, a bridge between life and death, between now and later. But in this modern age, that myth has begun to stir again, not in folklore, but in science. What was once legend whispered in caves is now being studied under the hum of machines. Inside one such laboratory, a team of scientists watches a heartbeat slow on a monitor. It's not an animal this time. It's a human patient in deep therapeutic hypothermia. Their body temperature has been lowered by several degrees. Their metabolism is almost still. The brain, once consuming a fifth of the body's energy, now rests in a calm beyond normal sleep. The heart beats only a few times per minute, pumping blood just enough to preserve function. To an untrained eye, the patient looks lifeless. But within that stillness lies a fragile miracle. Time has been stretched. The body, for a brief moment, exists outside the rush of decay. This is what medicine has begun to rediscover. That to save life, sometimes, you must slow it down. Hospitals around the world now use controlled cooling to buy time during emergencies, strokes, heart attacks, traumatic injuries. When the body cools, metabolism decreases and cells need less oxygen. Damage slows. Healing gains ground. For a few precious hours, doctors can operate within this borrowed silence. A man-made echo of hibernation. And it works. Lives have been saved by what scientists call induced torpor, a state where the body mimics the ancient rhythm of hibernators. But even with technology, we are only imitating what nature already perfected. The bear in its cave, the lemur in its tree, the frog beneath the ice. They've been doing this for millions of years without machines, without equations, without fear. They simply know when to stop. That instinct, the surrender to stillness, is what modern humanity has forgotten. We build cities that never sleep, societies that measure worth by speed, people who live in constant motion. We call it progress, but in the quiet chambers of our biology, the old rhythms remain. Our bodies still crave cycles, sleep, rest, renewal. Our hearts still slow naturally when we find peace. Our cells still repair when we stop, and when we ignore these patterns long enough, our bodies remind us. With exhaustion, with illness, with the quiet collapse that follows too much motion. Perhaps hibernation, in its most human form, is not about freezing or science at all. Perhaps it is about remembering how to stop. In the Arctic Circle, where winters last half the year, humans have always known this truth in their bones. The Suffers my people once told stories of the long dark months when the sun vanished and silence reigned. During that time, villages would gather indoors. Fires would be kept low. Food was rationed carefully. The people would sleep longer, speak softer, move less. Children were told not to fear the stillness. It was part of the earth's breath. The elders called it the Great Pause, a time when the world healed itself before waking again. Those stories were not superstition. They were memory, because long before cities and clocks, humans lived by the same laws as bears and bats. We moved when the earth moved. We rested when it rested. We were not separate from nature's rhythm. We were its echo. Today, that echo still hums quietly within us. Scientists studying sleep have found that humans possess natural metabolic dips tied to seasonal changes. Subtle, but real. In winter, our energy levels drop. Our sleep deepens. Our bodies crave heavier food and longer nights. It's as if some part of us still remembers what it meant to slow down when the sun withdrew. The instinct is there, but the world around us no longer listens. If we did, maybe our lives would change. Imagine a world where hibernation wasn't a fantasy but a choice, not just for survival but for healing, where the terminally ill could rest while medicine advanced, where astronauts could cross the solar system asleep, their dreams carrying them between stars, where trauma patients could be cooled into safety while surgeons worked calmly, time stretched by science. Even beyond medicine, imagine what it could mean for the human spirit to take refuge from chaos, to live with the patience of the seasons, to truly understand rest not as retreat, but as renewal. The possibility is no longer distant. In several research facilities, scientists have already begun to induce torpor, like states in animals that have never hibernated before, rats, pigs, even monkeys. The process involves activating specific neurons in the hypothalamus, the brain's control center for temperature and metabolism. When stimulated, these neurons trigger a cascade of reactions: blood pressure drops, body heat falls, energy use declines. It's as though the brain flips a switch, one buried deep in evolutionary memory, and the body obeys. If that switch exists in other mammals, it almost certainly exists in us. We just have to remember where it is. One day, perhaps soon, human hibernation will no longer belong to dreams. Already, space agencies are planning missions to Mars that rely on torpor to sustain astronauts. The journey, which could take nearly a year, would be nearly impossible with awake, active bodies. Too much food, too much oxygen, too much time. But a crew asleep, slowed to a fraction of normal metabolism, could endure the long passage in peace. They would sleep through darkness, through distance, through silence, and awaken on another world. In that sense, hibernation may become our bridge not just across time, but across space. But there is a deeper bridge, one that leads inward. The more we learn about slowing the body, the more we discover about slowing the mind. Meditation, deep breathing, sensory deprivation, all these human practices mimic aspects of natural torpor. In those states, the heartbeat slows, brain waves soften, and the mind enters a kind of waking hibernation. Monks in the Himalayas have long practiced a ritual known as thaw, the yoga of inner fire. They can lower their heart rate, raise their body temperature, and survive in freezing conditions while wrapped only in thin cloth. Western science once dismissed this as myth, until it was recorded, measured, and verified. The monks, through control of breath and thought, tap into the same biological systems that hibernators use. They are not escaping reality. They are harmonizing with it. In this way, human hibernation already exists, though not as we expected. It's in every deep meditation, every hour of dreamless sleep, every moment when the body and mind surrender to stillness. It's not as dramatic as a bear's winter or a frog's frozen trance, but it's born of the same wisdom. When we pause, the body heals. When we rest deeply, the mind resets. When we stop fighting the flow of time, life becomes longer, gentler, clearer. Perhaps then, hibernation is not only a biological phenomenon, it's a mirror for our own inner evolution. It teaches us that progress isn't always forward. Sometimes it's inward. Sometimes it's downward, into the depths of silence where everything waits. The bear retreats into its den not to escape the world, but to prepare for it. The ground squirrel freezes not in fear, but in trust. The lemur sleeps through the heat because it knows the world will one day cool again. And maybe one day, humanity will relearn that lesson. Maybe we'll find that the technology we build to induce hibernation was never meant to create something new, but to help us remember something old, a harmony we once shared with the planet itself. In the quiet future of science, we may lie in glass chambers aboard spacecraft, bodies cool and still, minds drifting through an endless dream. Outside, the stars will move slowly, ancient and silent. Inside, we will rest, not dead, not asleep, but waiting, like every hibernator that came before us. Waiting for the signal to awaken, waiting for spring, whether it comes as sunlight on a distant world, or simply as a moment of peace on our own. And as we open our eyes again, we will find that time has passed gently. The body will remember how to breathe. The mind will remember how to dream. The old rhythm will rise once more, the rhythm of heartbeat, of breath, of life rediscovered in stillness. As humanity remembers at last that the key to surviving eternity might not be in speed or power, but in the ancient art of slowing down. For most living things, hunger is a cruel master. It gnaws at the body, weakens the muscles, fogs the mind, and drains the spirit. Deprive a human of food for days, and the body begins to consume itself. First fat, then muscle, then organ tissue, until nothing remains but the slow fade into stillness. Hunger, for us, is an enemy. But in the world of hibernators, hunger is something else entirely. It is an ally, a teacher, a companion that guides them into a state beyond ordinary life. A place where the body learns to survive on almost nothing at all. When a bear settles into her winter den, she knows what's coming. For months there will be no berries, no salmon, no roots. Her body, massive and alive with energy, will have to sustain itself on reserves alone. But she does not fear the hunger that waits in the snow. She prepares for it, she becomes it. In the final days before hibernation, the bear eats relentlessly. Her body turns wild with appetite. She can consume tens of thousands of calories a day, building a thick layer of fat beneath her skin, not just for insulation, but for fuel. The process has a name: hyperphagia, the feast before the famine. It's nature's way of charging the battery before the long power outage of winter. And when the first real frost arrives, when the light begins to thin and the air grows sharp, her body begins its quiet transformation. Deep inside, hormones shift. The hunger fades. The digestive system slows to a crawl. Her stomach empties and her intestines fall into silence. Soon she no longer needs to eat, not because there is food, but because her body has learned how to live without it. This is the hunger shutdown, one of nature's most extraordinary feats of adaptation. For months, sometimes more than half a year, the bear's body will survive without food or water, using stored fat as energy. What would kill another creature becomes her most perfect state of balance. In this suspended existence, her body burns through fat at a measured pace, producing water as a byproduct, enough to hydrate her organs and blood. Her metabolism drops by more than 70%. The heart beats slow and strong. Every molecule of stored energy is rationed with the precision of 1,000 generations of instinct. The bear does not feel hunger. She does not thirst. She simply is. For humans, such deprivation would bring agony. But for the hibernator, it is peace. It's the ultimate expression of control, to silence the very voice that screams for survival. The deeper scientists study hibernation, the more astonishing it becomes. Inside the bear's body, fat doesn't just melt into energy. It transforms. The blood becomes rich with special molecules that prevent clotting and waste buildup. Proteins recycle efficiently, keeping muscles strong. Even the bones remain dense, untouched by disuse. Humans confined to bed for months would emerge frail and broken. But the bear rises in spring as though it had spent the season training, not sleeping. And then there's the greatest mystery of all, the waste that never comes. The bear doesn't urinate or defecate throughout its entire hibernation. In any other creature, that would mean death by toxins. But the hibernating body is its own alchemist. It breaks down urea, the toxic compound normally expelled in urine, and converts it into new proteins. What would have been poison becomes nourishment. The bear becomes a perfect, closed system, nothing wasted, nothing lost. This mastery over hunger is not unique to bears. Across the frozen hemisphere, life follows the same law. The Arctic ground squirrel, small enough to fit in a human hand, can survive 8 months without eating a single crumb. Its body temperature drops below freezing, its heart nearly stops, and its metabolism slows by over 90%. When it finally awakens, it's not emaciated or broken. It's alive, intact, renewed. Even the tiny hummingbird, whose heart can beat over 1,000 times per minute in flight, practices its own form of the hunger shutdown each night. When the sun sets and food vanishes, the bird falls into a mini hibernation called torpor. Its temperature plunges, its pulse slows, and its metabolism falls to a whisper. By dawn, when the first light returns, it wakes, drinks nectar, and resumes its impossible pace of living, a daily rhythm of feast and fast. For these creatures, hunger isn't an enemy. It's a signal, a doorway between one state of being and another. When the body feels the coming scarcity, it doesn't panic, it transforms. Hormones shift. The brain begins to release chemicals that dull appetite and suppress energy use. Even the cells slow their work, conserving power like a city dimming its lights at night. The result is a system so efficient it borders on the divine life stripped down to its purest, most minimal form. But beneath this calm lies a story of evolution written in hunger itself. For millions of years, animals faced endless cycles of abundance and absence. Lush summers, barren winters, floods, droughts. Those that could not adapt to hunger perished. Those that could learn to transform it into a tool. Each generation refined the art of stillness, until some species became masters of starvation. Creatures that could go months, even years, without food and emerge as if time itself had bowed before them. Some fish can live buried in mud for 2 years without eating. Certain frogs freeze solid, their hearts stopped for months. surviving on energy stored before the cold. Reptiles slow their bodies to near immobility, surviving droughts and heat waves in a state of quiet meditation. The desert snail of Egypt once survived in a museum drawer for 30 years, sealed in its shell, mistaken for dead, until one day it stirred and emerged, alive, having outwaited time itself. The hunger shutdown isn't just survival, it's defiance. Scientists have tried to understand how these creatures endure such extreme fasting. What they discovered defied logic. During hibernation, the usual signs of starvation, cell death, organ failure, immune collapse, never appear. Instead, the body seems to protect itself from within. In the absence of food, it becomes its own healer. Damaged cells repair faster, inflammation fades. Harmful molecules that would normally accumulate are broken down and recycled. It's as if the act of fasting triggers a deep, biological cleansing, a renewal built into the very fabric of life. And perhaps this is where humanity reconnects with its distant, sleeping ancestors. Because inside us, too, lies a trace of this ancient rhythm. When we fast, even briefly, the body begins to change. Hormones shift. Cells start repairing themselves through a process called autophagy, where the old is consumed to make way for the new. It's a shadow of the same mechanism that keeps the hibernator alive. The same whisper that once guided our primitive selves through long winters with little food. We've forgotten this language, drowned it beneath abundance and noise, but our biology remembers. Our cells remember. Somewhere deep in the body, the old rhythm hums quietly, waiting for us to fall still enough to hear it again. In the frozen wilderness, the bear sleeps on, untroubled by hunger. Her cubs nestle against her, their tiny bodies drawing warmth from her slowed heart. Snow covers the mouth of the den, sealing them away from the world. Above, the storm howls across the ridges. Below, inside the silence, a miracle continues, hunger transformed into harmony. The body feeds on itself without pain, repairs itself without effort, lives without sustenance. Outside, time moves relentlessly, but inside, the rhythm of the hunger shutdown beats softly, a reminder that life, when it trusts its own design, can survive even in the absence of everything it once needed. And in that still, dark place beneath the snow, nature proves a truth older than memory, that sometimes the secret to survival isn't in feeding the fire, but in letting it burn slow and steady until even hunger itself becomes peace. The hunger shutdown is not a struggle, it is surrender perfected. In the dark silence of hibernation, every living creature that practices it learns the same sacred rule. The body always knows how to survive if it is allowed to remember its wisdom. Hunger becomes not pain, but patience. Not emptiness, but balance. Inside the bear's den, her heart beats once every few seconds. The fat reserves she built during autumn are slowly consumed, molecule by molecule. Each ounce of fat turns to energy, and with it, the body produces just enough water to sustain her. She is living from within, feeding on her own stored light. To the outside world, she is fasting. To herself, she is thriving. Scientists who study hibernation have discovered something extraordinary about this state. The hibernator's metabolism becomes so efficient that every breath, every heartbeat, and every cell works in perfect coordination. Nothing is wasted. When there is no food, the body stops sending hunger signals. Instead, it shifts its focus inward. It prioritizes survival over desire. Even the hormones that drive appetite, ghrelin, leptin, insulin, change their dance. The bear does not feel longing. She does not dream of berries or salmon. Her mind rests in stillness, her body in purpose. This is nature's most refined form of fasting, the art of living on what already exists, and it's not limited to bears. In the frozen forests of Siberia, the raccoon dog, a small canid with thick fur and intelligent eyes, curls up beneath a blanket of snow. It is the only member of the dog family that truly hibernates. When food disappears, it retreats underground, its metabolism dropping nearly 70%. For months it eats nothing. Yet, when spring arrives, it emerges healthy and strong, its fur sleek, its body lean but alive. Its fat has sustained it, its hunger silenced, its life preserved. A world away, in the deserts of North Africa, snails seal themselves into their shells to wait out the dry season. They stop eating entirely, their bodies shrinking slightly to conserve energy. Their heartbeat slows to almost nothing. When the rains finally come, they dissolve the thin layer of hardened mucus that sealed them in, slide out, and feed again, patient masters of the hunger shutdown beneath the burning sun. The pattern repeats everywhere. Different bodies, same wisdom. Frogs under ice, lizards in the sand, fish buried in mud. Even the tiniest insects, frozen in amber silence, survive through hunger's quiet grace. But here's the part that truly astonishes scientists: hibernators don't just survive starvation. They thrive through it. Their immune systems remain stable, sometimes even stronger. Their organs don't deteriorate. Their brains, though slowed, maintain function and memory. Even their blood chemistry transforms. Fatty acids are converted into clean energy. Proteins are recycled into tissue repair. Waste is eliminated internally. In a state where other creatures would crumble, the hibernator grows more efficient. It's as if hunger unlocks a secret code of immortality, a biological alchemy that turns absence into strength. This revelation has sparked a new era of research in human medicine. Could we, too, harness this ancient power? Could the hunger shutdown become a key to healing? Doctors and biologists have begun experimenting with controlled fasting and metabolic suppression, inspired by hibernation. They've observed that when humans fast, even for short periods, our bodies echo the same ancient responses. Growth hormones rise, inflammation decreases, damaged cells are recycled, energy use becomes cleaner. The process called autophagy, self-eating, activates, cleansing the body of broken cells and toxins. The same mechanism that keeps a bear alive through hunger begins to hum quietly inside us. We are not so different from the sleepers of the wild. Our ancestors once lived through scarcity. They endured winters where food was scarce and fires burned low. Their bodies knew how to endure hunger, how to slow down without collapsing. In that stillness, something powerful evolved. The ability to survive by silence, by patience, by trust in the body's own timing. But in the modern world, we've forgotten the rhythm of famine and feast. We eat constantly, never letting the old pathways awaken. Our bodies, once tuned to nature's pauses, now live in constant noise. The result is imbalance, diseases of excess, exhaustion of abundance. We've built a world that never knows stillness. Yet inside every human cell, the memory of the hunger shutdown remains, waiting to be remembered. In laboratories, scientists studying hibernating squirrels and bears have begun isolating the proteins that allow these animals to endure starvation without harm. They've identified compounds that protect cells during nutrient deprivation, proteins that stabilize DNA, reduce oxidative stress, and keep the body's energy factories running smoothly. If these compounds could be replicated, they might one day allow humans to heal faster, live longer, even survive deep space travel where food and energy are scarce. Imagine a future where surgeons could place a patient into controlled metabolic rest before an operation, where soldiers or explorers could survive months of scarcity by entering a safe, energy-saving state. It sounds like science fiction, but it is simply science remembering what nature already knows. In the Arctic wilderness, the bear dreams in silence. Her body, still and vast, contains everything she needs. As the months pass, her cubs grow within her, nourished not by food, but by her reserves. She sleeps, her breath rising and falling with the rhythm of the earth itself. The hunger shutdown is not deprivation, it's transformation. The absence of food does not weaken her. It refines her. And when spring comes, she will awaken lighter, but whole. Her hunger will return, fierce and clean. She'll leave the den and find the rivers swollen with meltwater, the forest alive again with sound. The salmon will leap, the berries will bloom, and she will eat, not in desperation, but in balance. Her body will remember both plenty and scarcity, and in that memory lies her strength. The hunger shutdown teaches a truth that ripples through all life. That endurance isn't about resistance, but rhythm. That to survive, one must sometimes stop. That even in emptiness, there is abundance if you learn where to look for it. And in that dark space beneath the snow, in the endless patience of hunger transformed into peace, the hibernator carries the oldest wisdom of all. That life's greatest strength lies not in constant consumption, but in the art of waiting, the mastery of stillness, the power to live beautifully on almost nothing at all. In the vast stillness of winter, something remarkable is happening beneath the surface of the world. The forests may look dead, the mountains silent, the air unmoving. But inside the bodies of the hibernating creatures, a quiet transformation is taking place. It is not decay, it is not death, it is renewal. To most of us, hibernation looks like sleep. To science, it looks like survival. But to nature, it's something far more extraordinary. A kind of reset. A cleansing of the old, a restoration of balance, a return to the rhythm that keeps life timeless. This is nature's reset button. The power to pause, to heal, and to begin again. Imagine a bear in her den, lying motionless beneath a blanket of snow. Her body appears lifeless, but deep inside, her cells are performing one of the most sophisticated biological ballets known to existence. Her temperature has dropped. Her breathing slows to almost nothing. Her heart beats just a few times a minute. Yet in that stillness, her body is not falling apart. It's repairing itself. During hibernation, her cells switch from growth to maintenance. Damaged tissues that would normally go unrepaired during busy waking months are now being restored. Waste products that would cause disease are recycled into energy. The bear's immune system, which would weaken under starvation in any other creature, actually strengthens. It's as if her body knows that rest is not the absence of life. It is the maintenance of it. Scientists studying hibernators have discovered that these long months of sleep do more than conserve energy. They reverse damage. They cleanse. They protect the organism from aging. In some cases, hibernating animals live almost twice as long as similar species that never sleep through the winter. Time in the den does not flow the same way. It slows. It bends, it waits. The key lies in metabolism. Every second we live, our cells burn fuel to stay alive. But that burning, that constant fire of life, also produces byproducts, tiny fragments of oxygen that damage DNA and cells over time. It's called oxidative stress, and it's one of the reasons all living things age. But hibernators, during their deep rest, cool the fire. Their cells barely burn. Their bodies enter a state of near perfect preservation. It's as if they step outside of time itself, pressing pause on the biological clock. In a small laboratory in Alaska, a researcher leans over a sleeping ground squirrel, its tiny body cold to the touch. Electrodes on its chest monitor a heart so slow it's barely there. Blood samples reveal almost no oxidative damage. Its tissues are pristine, its cells humming quietly in harmony. If that animal could stay in this state forever, it might never age. Yet it's not immortality it seeks, only balance. The same pattern appears across the hibernating world. In frogs frozen solid under ice, in bats suspended in caves, in snakes coiled beneath stones. The reset happens every winter. When they awaken, their bodies are not degraded by the passage of time. They are rejuvenated by it. This is nature's great secret. Rest heals at the deepest level. But this isn't just biology. It's philosophy written into the heartbeat of the planet. Every forest, every ocean, every living thing follows the same cycle. Growth, decay, rest, renewal. Even the soil hibernates. Beneath layers of snow, microbial life slows almost to stillness, conserving nutrients until the thaw. The rivers freeze, the air clears, and the land breathes again only when it's ready. Winter is not an ending. It's a reset. For the hibernator, it's a chance to become new again. A bear can lose a third of its body weight and still emerge healthy. Its muscles, unused for months, remain strong. Its organs remain perfect. The secret lies in proteins released during torpor, compounds that prevent muscle breakdown and bone loss. The same bear that slept through an entire season will rise in spring capable of running, climbing, hunting, and nursing her cubs without weakness. Humans who spend even weeks immobile lose strength, bone density, and coordination. Yet nature's sleepers do not. They have mastered the balance between stillness and survival. Their rest is not idle. It is regenerative. When scientists studied the blood of hibernating bears, they found something remarkable: unique proteins that stop the loss of muscle tissue. These proteins act like guardians, preserving structure, repairing damage, and maintaining health. Some researchers believe these compounds could one day help humans prevent muscle atrophy in space or during long hospital stays. Others see potential in slowing aging itself. If we could learn to mimic this reset, this controlled pause, we might extend our lives not through endless motion, but through perfectly timed stillness. In Japan, researchers studying hibernating hamsters noticed another strange phenomenon: their telomeres, the tiny protective caps on the ends of DNA strands, didn't shorten as quickly during hibernation. In fact, in some cases they lengthened. For years, scientists believed telomeres were the biological clock of aging. Every time a cell divides, the telomeres shorten. Eventually, they wear down completely and the cell dies. But hibernation seems to slow, or even reverse, that process. The hibernating body doesn't just rest. It regenerates at a genetic level. Somehow, nature has woven renewal into the art of waiting, and this rhythm extends beyond animals. In the forests of Scandinavia, trees stand motionless through the darkest months. To the human eye, they seem dead. But beneath the bark, water and sap slow to syrup. The roots rest. The branches conserve. Inside, chemical changes protect the tree's cells from freezing, preparing it for rebirth. When the light returns, the flow begins again. Leaves unfurl. Flowers bloom. Life returns stronger, greener, and older, yet somehow untouched. Even coral reefs, beneath the ocean's shifting currents, have their own version of hibernation. When the waters grow too cold, polyps retreat into their calcium homes, sealing themselves away until warmth returns. The entire reef, that great living city beneath the waves, slows its pulse, waiting for the reset. Everywhere you look, the message repeats: nothing can grow forever. Everything to endure must stop. Perhaps that's why the hibernators seem so peaceful. They don't fear the pause. They trust it. They know that rest is not retreat, but rebirth. Their stillness is not a sign of weakness. It's a declaration of faith. Faith that the world will return, that warmth will find them again. The idea of nature's reset isn't just about survival, it's about design. It's about the intelligence woven into every cell of creation. When conditions become harsh, the body doesn't panic. It reorganizes, it protects, it waits. And when the storm passes, it resumes, stronger for the silence. In that waiting lies the oldest wisdom of all. Healing takes time, and time moves differently for those who know how to pause. The snow outside the bear's den deepens. The air hums with stillness. Beneath that frozen surface, an orchestra of tiny processes continues. Cells repairing, blood renewing, bones strengthening. She doesn't know it's happening. She doesn't need to. Nature is her doctor, her caretaker, her reset. When the thaw comes, she'll awaken into a new world, not worn by the weight, but made whole by it. The same thing happens for every hibernator. The squirrel beneath the frost, the hedgehog beneath the leaves, the frog inside the ice. They will all emerge lighter but restored, their systems cleansed, their lives extended by the quiet season. To watch them is to glimpse a truth humans have long forgotten, that sometimes the greatest form of life is the one that pauses completely. And as the world above shifts through the great silence of winter, the den below remains timeless. Inside, the bear dreams, her pulse steady, her warmth soft against the earth. The months will pass unnoticed. Her body will shed the damage of the year. Her mind will rest in perfect peace. And when she finally wakes, the old will have fallen away, leaving only what is new, a living embodiment of nature's endless, beautiful reset. Deep beneath the snow-covered earth, the world is quietly rebuilding itself. Every frozen heartbeat, every still breath, every slow pulse of life inside a hibernating creature is a part of that rebuilding, the ancient ritual that resets the balance of nature itself. What looks like rest from the outside is a masterpiece of precision within. The hibernator's body, its chemistry, its very essence, is performing a tune so perfectly timed that even the smallest mistake would mean death. Yet year after year, through frost and famine, it performs flawlessly. In that hidden harmony lies the secret of nature's reset. Not chaos disguised as calm, but structure disguised as silence. When scientists look inside a hibernating animal, they see a world unlike anything else in biology. During the deep sleep of torpor, every organ slows its work, every cell chooses efficiency over activity. The body is not asleep in the human sense, it's suspended in purpose. Waste is recycled. Broken tissues are replaced. Inflammation, the The silent fire that burns through aging bodies disappears almost entirely. It's as though the animal's body knows that the only way to survive the harshest season is to pause, repair, and begin again when the world is kind. Even the brain participates in this renewal. During hibernation, neural activity changes completely. The high-speed storms of thought fade into long, slow waves of rest. Memories remain untouched, preserved within the mind's frozen architecture. When the animal awakens, it does not forget. It continues. Its brain, like its body, emerges sharper, cleansed of the clutter of a busy year. It's as though the long silence clears away the fog, allowing the creature to return to the world with a kind of quiet clarity. For the Arctic ground squirrel, one of nature's most extreme hibernators, this process borders on the miraculous. Its body temperature can drop below freezing without harm. Its heart pauses for minutes at a time, yet its brain remains perfectly intact. No ice crystals, no cellular damage, no memory loss. For months, it exists in a suspended world between life and death, and when it wakes, it resumes exactly where it left off. It is nature's way of proving that time, when properly handled, does not have to wound. The same is true for the bat, hanging like a shadow in the dark of a cave. While it sleeps, its heart contracts and expands only a few dozen times an hour. Its immune system shuts down, yet infection does not spread. Its body grows cold, but the cells remain unbroken. In that stillness, the bat is not dying. It's rebooting. It is, in the purest sense, renewing its system, shutting down the unnecessary to preserve the essential. Even the frog, frozen solid beneath a pond, participates in this grand cycle of cleansing. While encased in ice, its organs stop, but its cells remain safe thanks to the glucose flooding through its veins. The sugar protects, nourishes, stabilizes. Its body's systems are paused, not destroyed. When spring returns, the frog thaws and breathes again. Its first inhalation a silent echo of the planet's own awakening. Across the living world, from tundra to desert, from mountain to marsh, the principle is the same. When the body pauses, life resets. Nature uses stillness not as retreat, but as repair. The earth itself mirrors this truth every year. Winter descends and the soil rests, nutrients regenerate, microbes slow their feeding. The forest floor, once frantic with growth and decay, becomes quiet, giving itself time to recover. Then, when warmth returns, the ground bursts into life again, richer than before. The pause was not death, it was restoration. For humans, this concept feels almost foreign. We are creatures of constant movement, of deadlines, of urgency, of sleepless nights and restless minds. The idea that life could strengthen itself by stopping seems almost rebellious. But when we look at nature, when we study the hibernators, the lesson is undeniable. Growth without pause leads only to exhaustion. Every system, even the most resilient, needs its reset. The bear knows this. The squirrel knows this. Even the smallest insect knows this. And maybe, deep down, we do too. In laboratories around the world, researchers are now studying the potential of hibernation's reset effect for human healing. They've found that the same biochemical pathways that protect hibernating animals could be triggered in us. For instance, certain molecules, called hydrogen sulfide and adenosine, help lower metabolism and shield cells from damage during torpor. When scientists introduced these compounds to human cells in controlled conditions, the cells showed increased resistance to stress, radiation, and aging. It's as if the reset button that nature built into bears and frogs might exist in us as well, waiting quietly to be pressed. One of the most exciting areas of study involves using induced hibernation to protect human organs for transplantation. Right now, organs removed from donors can survive only hours before deteriorating. But if researchers can replicate hibernation's preservation process, slowing metabolism, reducing oxygen needs, pausing cellular decay, those organs could last days, even weeks. Imagine a world where heart transplants could be scheduled calmly, where lives could be saved not in panic, but in patience. And beyond medicine, there's space. When astronauts travel beyond Earth, they face not only distance but time. A journey to Mars might take nearly a year. To other worlds, decades. Without some way to slow the body, space itself becomes the enemy. But if humans could safely enter a torpor-like state, If we could sleep through the silence of the stars as bears sleep through the silence of snow, then the universe would no longer be impossible, just waiting. In this way, hibernation's reset button could open the gates of the cosmos. But even if we never drift among the planets, the wisdom of hibernation still has something vital to teach us here on Earth. In a world that measures success by movement, hibernation reminds us that stillness is sacred, that to pause is not to waste time, it is to honor it. Nature doesn't rush its resets. It doesn't panic when winter comes. It trusts the cycle. It trusts itself. In every creature that sleeps through the storm, there is a lesson for the restless human heart to stop chasing constant light and to learn again the art of darkness, to rest deeply enough that we emerge reborn, not drained, to let silence do its slow work of repair. Because even within us, in every breath we take, small resets are happening all the time. Every night when we sleep, our bodies repair, our minds declutter, our cells restore. Every morning we wake, changed, however slightly. We experience on a human scale what the bear experiences on a cosmic one. We reset. We begin again. In the heart of the forest, the first drops of spring melt slide from the trees. The rivers begin to hum again. Beneath the earth, the hibernators stir. The bear's heart quickens. The bat flexes its wings. The frog's frozen limbs thaw. The blood begins to move. The season of pause ends and the world exhales. But the real miracle is not that they wake. It's that they wake better. The damage of last year has been erased. The fatigue is gone. Their bodies hum with new life, new blood, new strength. And as the forest fills with sound again, the rustle of paws on thawed soil, the flutter of wings, the splash of returning streams, it becomes clear that hibernation was never about escape. It was about returning renewed. The earth, too, has healed in that silence. Everything begins again, as it always has, in a rhythm as old as the stars. Somewhere in that awakening, there is a whisper meant for us. A reminder that no matter how far we've drifted from the natural world, we are still part of its pattern. The reset isn't only for the bear or the squirrel or the frog. It's for us, too. We just have to remember how to press it, how to rest, to pause, to trust in the slow and quiet power of renewal that has always kept the world alive beneath the frost, waiting patiently for the light to return. There's a strange and beautiful irony hidden in nature's grandest secret. The creatures that sleep the longest, the ones that vanish into stillness for months, may also hold the key to our own restless world. Every winter, as the hibernators sink into silence, their bodies perform something miraculous. They sleep to survive. But what if their story isn't only about endurance? What if it's about something more? About healing, longevity, and the possibility that their ancient rhythms could teach us how to truly rest again. This is the sleepiest twist of all, that the creatures who disappear into darkness might just hold the secret to the light of life itself. We've always envied the sleepers. Humans, no matter how advanced we become, cannot escape the exhaustion of being awake. We burn through our days, rushing through schedules, numbing our nights with glowing screens, forgetting that our bodies were never built for constant wakefulness. We've turned sleep, the simplest, most natural act, into a luxury. But somewhere deep in the forest, under snow and silence, bears and squirrels and bats are living proof that sleep is not laziness, it's mastery. Take the black bear, for example, that great symbol of hibernation. As winter approaches, she eats relentlessly, preparing for her long retreat. When she finally curls into her den, she doesn't just fall asleep, she enters a kind of dream beyond our comprehension. Her body temperature drops slightly, but her awareness remains faintly alive. She's not unconscious. She's between worlds, hovering in a perfect equilibrium of rest and vigilance. Scientists once thought hibernation was simple sleep, but the more they studied it, the more they realized how wrong they were. The bear's body isn't shutting down, it's optimizing. It's rewriting itself from the inside out. While the rest of the forest freezes, her cells begin a quiet symphony of repair. Muscle fibers regenerate. Damaged tissues heal. Her bones, though unused, remain strong. Her organs stay pristine. It's as if her body knows that time spent resting is not wasted. It's invested, During these months of stillness, something remarkable happens. Her stress hormones plummet, her immune system strengthens, her blood chemistry stabilizes in ways that human medicine can barely mimic. It's a sleep so deep that it heals her from the inside, a dream that rewires the body's very definition of balance. Now imagine if humans could harness that same power. What if sleep wasn't just an escape from exhaustion but a tool for transformation? Scientists have long been fascinated by this question. When researchers observed hibernating animals, they discovered a biochemical truth hidden inside them. Hibernation is not only about saving energy, it's about restoring life. During deep torpor, the brain slows its activity almost to silence. And yet, when it awakens, it doesn't forget. It's sharper, cleaner, more efficient. The process purges waste, repairs neurons, and resets connections, not unlike what happens in human sleep, but on an infinitely deeper scale. In other words, hibernation is sleep perfected. For humans, sleep is already a kind of hibernation, a nightly retreat where our bodies perform invisible miracles. When we sleep, our brains cleanse themselves of toxins through the glymphatic system, a network of fluid channels that flushes away waste accumulated during the day. Our cells repair DNA damage. Our hearts slow, our breathing deepens, and hormones balance themselves again. It's a biological reset that mirrors the long sleep of hibernators. But our version is short and shallow, only hours compared to the bear's months. What would happen if we could extend that rest, slow it down, and learn from nature's deeper rhythm? The answer might be written in the small, fragile bodies of ground squirrels. These tiny creatures hibernate for up to 9 months every year, surviving underground in temperatures that should kill them. When scientists studied their brains, they found something astonishing. Even after months of torpor, the squirrels suffered no brain damage. Their neurons, deprived of oxygen and energy for so long, didn't die. Instead, they adapted. They entered a suspended state where everything unnecessary shut down, and everything vital waited quietly for return. When they woke, their memories were intact. Their brains had somehow paused time. Humans, by contrast, are fragile in comparison. Deprive our brains of oxygen for a few minutes, and cells begin to die. But if we could unlock the secret of hibernation, if we could teach our neurons to wait instead of panic, we might rewrite the limits of medicine itself. Stroke victims, trauma patients, even those suffering from degenerative diseases could be given time to heal. We could use rest as treatment, not just recovery. And perhaps, beyond the realm of science, we could use it as wisdom. Because this story isn't only about biology, it's about rhythm. The more we study hibernation, the clearer it becomes that the line between sleep and survival, between rest and revival, is not as wide as we thought. Sleep and hibernation share one heartbeat, the heartbeat of trust. To surrender fully to rest, to let go of hunger, of fear, of control, requires faith that the world will still be there when you wake. The bear knows this. The frog frozen in ice knows this. Even the bat hanging in darkness knows this. Their rest is not weakness, it's courage. They trust the pause. Humans, however, have forgotten that trust. We fight sleep. We treat it as a thief that steals our time, not as a healer that gives it back. We fill our nights with blue light and noise, pushing the dawn closer with every distraction. We try to outsmart exhaustion instead of listening to it. And yet, deep inside us, the old rhythm still hums. The same ancient pulse that drives every sleeper of the earth to stop, to breathe, to be still. Modern life has dulled it, but it's not gone. You can still feel it if you stand in silence long enough. That primal whisper reminding you that rest is not the opposite of living, but the essence of it. Imagine a world that honored sleep the way the forest honors winter, where cities dimmed their lights when the sun went down, not to save power, but to remember balance. Where people took days to slow down, not as luxury, but as necessity. Imagine if we learned from the hibernators. If we made rest sacred again. Because every creature that hibernates does so not only to survive the cold but to renew its spirit. The long months of silence are not a void, they are a dream in which the body rehearses life. In that stillness, the hibernator becomes part of the earth's breath. When it wakes, it does so in harmony with everything around it. The thawing rivers, the stirring soil, the rising sun. It has reset not just its body, but its connection to the world. That's what humanity has forgotten, that our rest is meant to reconnect us. When we sleep, we don't vanish. We return to the deeper currents of life, to the quiet pulse beneath all creation. The same pulse that moves the seasons, that guides the tides, that tells the bear when to sleep and the tree when to bloom. It's the rhythm that built the world, and we are part of it. The hibernators are not just masters of endurance, they are reminders of something sacred. That rest is not the end of motion, but the heart of it. Every heartbeat in the den, every frozen breath beneath the snow, is part of a larger rhythm, the rhythm of renewal. It's nature's quiet reminder that to wake well, one must first learn to sleep deeply. As the scene fades, the snow outside begins to glow faintly. The sun, hidden for months, peeks over the horizon. The bear stirs, her cubs shift beside her, tiny and warm. The air trembles with the first notes of awakening, and for a moment, the whole forest holds its breath. Not because something ends, but because something perfect is about to begin again. The bear stirs in her den, her massive body shifting slowly beneath the weight of earth and time. Months have passed, the world outside frozen, silent, unmoving. But within her, life has been quietly weaving itself anew. Her muscles have remained strong, her bones dense, her mind clear. Her cubs, once no larger than the palm of a hand, now nuzzle against her, warm and alive. The long sleep has done its work, and as she opens her eyes to the dim light filtering through the snow, it is as though she's waking not just from sleep, but from rebirth. Her heartbeat quickens, her lungs draw in the sharp air of spring, and for the first time in months, hunger returns, not as desperation, but as proof that life is beginning again. This is the hidden truth behind hibernation, the final, sleepiest twist that turns silence into strength when nature sleeps. It is not retreating from life, it is renewing it. The hibernator's sleep is not an escape from time, it is time transformed. To understand this twist, scientists once peered deep into the physiology of hibernating animals, expecting to find decay, the toll of long inactivity. What they found instead was the opposite: preservation. The heart tissue of a hibernating bear is almost indistinguishable from that of a young one. The liver cleans itself with a precision that human medicine cannot replicate. Even the brain, which in most creatures deteriorates after weeks without activity, remains pristine, as if polished by the months of stillness. The body, it seems, uses sleep not to escape aging but to outwit it. And perhaps the most mysterious part of all is what happens when these animals awaken. They emerge into the world with perfect coordination, no stiffness, no confusion. Their senses are sharp, their instincts immediate. A human who slept for months would stumble awake, confused, weak, disoriented. But the hibernator rises like a creature reborn, ready to move, hunt, live, as though no time had passed at all. In those first moments of waking, something almost spiritual seems to unfold. The forest hums again, the rivers run, and every creature that has endured the winter steps out of its den into the same rising light. It is a collective awakening, the world remembering itself. The cycle is complete silence, stillness, renewal. And at the center of it all, sleep, not a pause in life, but its pulse. This revelation changes how we see everything, even ourselves. For all our complexity, our technology, our endless movement, we are still bound by the same law as the bear, the need for rest as rebirth. Sleep is not the absence of action, it is the foundation of it. Without it, our bodies falter, our minds fracture, our emotions crumble. But when we surrender to it, when we honor it, we are given the same gift that the hibernator receives: the chance to reset, to repair, to begin again. In a way, humanity's modern illness is not disease or hunger. It is exhaustion. We live in defiance of our own biology, denying ourselves the very rhythm that nature gave every creature on earth. We fill the dark with light, the silence with noise. We've forgotten that sleep isn't optional. It's sacred. It is the oldest healing ritual we possess, the bridge between chaos and clarity. And the hibernators, in their quiet perfection, remind us of that truth every year. The little brown bat, for instance, spends nearly 7 months in suspended slumber each winter. During this time, it eats nothing, drinks nothing, and its heart beats barely 100 times an hour, a fraction of its normal rate, yet when spring arrives, it wakes with flawless precision. Scientists have discovered that even while in torpor, the bat's body performs subtle maintenance cycles. Every few weeks, it warms itself slightly, just enough to circulate blood, clean waste, and repair damage, before descending again into deep rest. It's as if the body knows how to breathe through its sleep to keep life gently pulsing beneath the stillness. That same principle, the micro-awakening, the pulse within the pause, exists in us too. When we sleep, we cycle through stages: deep rest, dreaming, shallow sleep, and back again. Each stage heals a different part of us: the body, the brain, the spirit. It's nature's way of giving us small resets every night, echoes of the great reset that the hibernators live through every year. And there, perhaps, lies the deepest connection between us and them. They are not alien miracles. They are reflections of what we once were, what we still are, in some quiet part of our biology. For all our noise and intellect, we are still children of the same earth that teaches bears when to rest and frogs when to freeze. Our bodies, too, remember how to heal through stillness. The difference is that we've forgotten to listen. In recent years, neuroscientists have begun to speak of human hibernation. Not the literal kind, but something more profound. They've discovered that during deep sleep, the human brain undergoes its own torpor-like process. Neural waste, the byproducts of thought and stress, are flushed away by waves of cerebrospinal fluid. The synapses between neurons, which grow overloaded during the day, shrink slightly at night, allowing the brain to reset its circuitry. When we wake, we are not the same person who fell asleep. The act of rest has rewritten us, refined us, reborn us. Sleep, then, is not just rest. It's transformation. And the deeper the stillness, the greater the change. In this light, the hibernators are not just survivors. They are teachers. Every season, they demonstrate that the most powerful act of life is to stop moving, to trust the dark, to let the body do what the mind cannot. They are nature's proof that healing requires surrender. The squirrel does not fight the cold, it embraces the silence. The frog does not resist the freeze, it becomes one with it. The bear does not run from winter, it meets it with grace. In that surrender, they achieve what all of nature seeks: balance. Perhaps that is the sleepiest twist of all, that the key to survival, longevity, and peace lies not in waking more, but in sleeping better. In a world obsessed with doing, the true mastery of life belongs to those who know when to stop. Because when the forest sleeps, the earth heals. When the rivers still, the ice clears the waters. When the animals rest, the ecosystem resets. And when humans finally learn to slow down, to truly sleep, body, mind, and spirit, maybe we will heal too. Imagine, for a moment, a future where humanity embraces this lesson. Hospitals built with quiet rooms, where patients are placed into safe states of hibernation to recover from trauma. Space travelers journeying between stars in peaceful slumber, their bodies preserved, their dreams bridging the light years. Entire cities adjusting their rhythms to the natural cycles of light and dark, living in harmony with the planet's breath instead of against it. It sounds like fantasy, but it's not. It's evolution remembering itself. And even if that future never comes, the truth remains timeless. The hibernator's long sleep is not a pause in living. It is the purest form of life there is. Each winter, as the forest falls silent and the snow buries the world, those hidden creatures perform a kind of alchemy. They turn sleep into survival, rest into rebirth, silence into song. When the thaw comes and they step back into the world, their hearts carry the rhythm of that long silence. It's the rhythm that reminds the earth how to breathe again. It's the rhythm that has kept life going for millions of years. Slow, deliberate, and endlessly patient. And somewhere deep inside us, whether we know it or not, that rhythm still beats too, waiting for us to remember that sometimes the truest form of strength is found not in motion, but in stillness, not in waking, but in the soft, unending wisdom of sleep that heals the world, one silent heartbeat at a time.